Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome,
hey guys.
Welcome to Grow Big TV.
I didn't think we were going to go live there for a second. It delayed for a minute, and I was like,
"What's the delay? Why isn't it going live? Why? What's going on?" So welcome in, Billy, Suzanne Goulet, Jane Doe, Rebel Canners, Rem's Family Farm. Guys, we have an ultimate live today. It's a legendary. To me, it's a legendary interview in a garden community. We have Brad Gates,
This is awesome, guys. This is awesome. And I talked to a lot of people today, and they're like, "Who's that?" And I was like, "You don't know who Brad Gates is?" And then I mentioned the tomatoes, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know who that is. So cool." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is awesome. This is going to be great."
Yeah, once you mention the pork chop, Brad's
atomic grape,
Barry's crazy cherry, and you're going off all the variations. It's like I like solar flavor best. So this is going to be so awesome. I'm so excited. I actually got chills again when it's look. I got chills. I got goosebumps. This is awesome. Okay, well, we're going to show our 6 inches of soil video when you guys are coming on in. So welcome in, everybody. We got 19 people in the chat, and we got a lot more coming. So thank you, guys. We appreciate it. So 6 inches of soil.
6 inches of soil feeds 8 billion people.
We already grow enough of all the human essential nutrients to feed everyone who's alive.
Farming is the single biggest cause of biodiversity collapse, the second biggest cause of climate change.
Soil is the most valuable resource on the planet, and we're degrading it without even realizing.
Have come to believe that money is more important than soil. That idea has to change.
Regenerative agriculture is farming that we're producing food, but also farming in harmony with nature.
You're working with nature, not against it.
The more people see it, the more that they realise that it works.
Having a regenerative agroecological system, that is surely the solution.
Soils are absolutely phenomenal in the amount of carbon they can store.
What we absolutely need now is urgent action from the government.
Until you deal with 9 retailers who have 94.5% of food sales in Britain, you're not going to have a level playing field.
Consumers have a choice. They can decide to buy cheap meat from industrial farms, or they can find farmers that really value animal welfare and the environment that we're farming in.
Dad started regen farming for the future generations to come, and that was the most selfless act he could have done.
The people who are doing this are making big sacrifices.
I think the potential is absolutely huge here.
These farms really can change the world.
It's all about the soil, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
6 inches of soil. I can't wait till that comes out. So I'm going to read a little bio to you guys. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody. I'm just looking. I seen Joe, and all of a sudden, Joe. So read a little bit about his bio from his site. So about Wild Boar Farms. Wild Boar Farms offer some of the most outrageous tomato varieties available on the planet. Brad, and a company, they're located in Northern California, and seeds you could buy on his website. His focus, and the company's focus, is breeding stunning, wait till you see some of these tomatoes, stunning looking tomatoes varieties with extreme flavor. All our tomatoes are grown using all organic growing techniques and are absolutely not GMO. We are true believers in using organic and sustainable practices. Our tomato varieties are a result of many years of hard work growing tens of thousands of plants, being very pricky about seed selection and capitalizing on some amazing gifts from Mother Nature. So if you are located in California, then order there. I'm just reading off the site. tomatoes have changed more in the last 10 years than they have their entire existence. So, and we're going to find out a lot about Brad right now. So, again, guys, everybody, welcome in. Share this out if you can. Welcome in Brad Gates.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on and hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yep.
So, Brad, we know you live in California now. Have you always lived in California?
Most of my life I've been trapped here. A brief time in the 90s, I moved out for a couple of years and then ended up back here, and I've been semi-stuck, it's great climate, great geography. So, and I still have like my parents here and stuff, so it's hard to leave. So I'm here for now. It's a great spot, and it's a great climate most of the time for growing things too. So that works out in my favor.
That's awesome. Now, did you always garden? Were you always into this, or how did you start out?
Good question. I've always been into like plants and animals and nature. I did construction, I did some landscaping and stuff, and then I started working for a friend on a Saturdays doing farmers market, and that's when I got my tomato crash course. This was over 25 years ago, and it's kind of when heirlooms were resurfacing, so to speak. Farmers markets kind of they were getting popular there, and so that's when they just started to come out. And on the first morning I showed up, I knew I was going to be selling tomatoes, and I looked in the back of the truck and I said, what are all the purple, yellow, and orange things? I thought I was selling tomatoes today. And that's kind of where my tomato crash course came from.
That's awesome.
So what was the first tomato besides a red one that you had? Do you have any idea what variety it was?
I guess there was quite a few of them. Cherokee Purple's always been a super top heirloom, I guess, one of the legendary ones. And right away, I took a liking to that. I liked a lot of the red and yellow bicolors. It had more of a sweet, almost fruity profile, as opposed to just always the acid bite. Now I'm kind of a snob, and if I don't eat at least 6 flavors of tomatoes in one sitting, I don't really feel satisfied.
But your first time you ever had a yellow, you had no idea what it was going to taste like.
Yeah, so kind of interesting. I've always been a picky eater, and my mom and dad grew tomatoes, but at that time they already had kind of a bad taboo to me. I didn't know why anybody'd want. In general, you go out and you get a sandwich, a burger, whatever. You have a wet, tasty, pulpy matter on your sandwich, and that never added to my experience. And I literally had no idea there was so many colors and flavor profiles of tomatoes, and then that was just the beginning. I went on an adventure trying to find the best of the best heirlooms, and then I was saving my own seeds, and then I had some very unusual and amazing crosses show up from the seeds that I saved, and that went on the whole learning experience of taking an heirloom, open pollinated, having it cross naturally, or either a person could manipulate it, do it, or nature once in a while does it. And then if you grow selecting the best of the best and the same thing for year after year, typically about 6, 7, 8 generations, you can stabilize, dehybridize that tomato and make it open pollinated form, which is the same as what heirlooms are. So I kind of coined them heirlooms of the future for now. Most heirlooms are known to be 50 years or older, and so they're heirlooms that have crossed and have selected the best of the best and creating new varieties. And that's kind of how heirlooms came about in the first place, was people crossing, having an accidental cross, maybe somewhere in a town, a village, whatever it was. Somebody was growing red tomatoes, a yellow one showed up in their garden, their family liked it, they like it, their neighbors kept asking them for it, they saved seeds and selected the best of the best over generations, and then that created new varieties.
Wow.
So when you started and you became a tomato breeder, what was your thought in your mind, like your goals, what were you trying to do? What were you trying to become?
I was probably had a little bit of a not the clearest vision of what was really going to happen. I was really attracted to like going to the farmer's market and people handing me money and smiling and saying thank you. And that was kind of a new experience. I thought, I got this. I love to work hard, love to work outdoors. I'm going to grow 1,000 tomato plants next year and be the tomato guy. And like most of those plants got eaten by deer. This happened, that happened. It was a long learning curve the first few years. If I could have gone back in time, I would have went and worked on a farm for a little while before I started it myself, but that's just the way I did it. I kind of started as the dishwasher and worked my way up.
So you have always planted right into the ground?
Most of the time. I've done some greenhouse stuff, I've done some container stuff, but the most feasible way to do it around here is in some soil, good soil, and it's more feasible when you're doing thousands of plants, especially when you're doing thousands and thousands of plants. It's the way to go.
Do you do this on your property or?
So I'm kind of a farmless farmer. I've been saying it for quite a few years. I'm about $1.5 million short of buying a farm here in California. If I wanted 5 acres with a decent place to live, that's about the going price. Unfortunately, everything's slated for future housing development. So I've got to make do with leasing land and doing it that way. So it works out. It'd be great to have a farm and walk out the backyard and do things, but then I'd probably have zero life, even worse than I already do if the farm was right in the backyard, maybe. So I've made it do with leasing land over the years.
Okay.
And so your present land is how many acres?
It's not really judged in acres. So now I just do about a couple thousand-ish tomato plants a year. About half are for seed extraction and about half are for breeding purposes and trials so that I can see what the future holds in tomatoes. So that 2,000 plants literally is probably only a half of an acre, maybe even a little less. When I did, you can get over 5,000 plants per acre when you grow pretty intensely. So the most I ever did, I used to do 15 or 20,000 plants per acre when I was growing to sell. So the first 20 years of my career, I was selling tomatoes at high-end restaurants, grocery stores, farmers markets, things like that. And the last 5 years, I was fortunate enough to evolve into selling seeds on my website and plants at a bunch of nurseries throughout Northern California. So that was actually a nice change, and it's hard making money selling tomatoes, especially when you want to grow the best tomatoes, not the cheapest. So that's if I would have wanted to make money selling tomatoes, part of my theme would have to be I have to grow the cheapest tomatoes or I'm not really going to make money at it. That was part of probably the end result. So it was great to evolve into seeds and plants and stuff. It's really cool, and one of the greatest joys I have is when people tell me from all around the world, you're all the way across the United States, you've had great joy and success with my varieties. I get different pictures and stuff from all over the world, and I basically feel almost like there's my children going somewhere else and making people happy. And that was kind of a big thing, because at one time I was the only person in the world holding Solar Flare or Berkeley Tie-Dye or Brad's Atomic Crepe in my hand. And I was literally thinking, everywhere I went, every chef, all the restaurants, all my customers were saying, these are the best, coolest tomatoes I've ever eaten. And I thought, I kept on with it a lot of years, just thinking the tomato world can't be without this. And then luckily that went into seed and variety development and being able to share and sell them that way. So
nice.
I have a 2-part question. 2 parts. Whoa.
I'll answer at least one.
I'm going to forget the other before I even ask it. Now, to get the higher bricks rating, so you want the best tomatoes, you want a higher bricks rating into tomatoes. So you need space in between plants, you need your sun, you need your airflow to get higher bricks. The next part is what is your distance? That's the first question. And second, if you have a higher bricks rating, does that create more aphids and other bugs to your plant?
So interesting questions there. So as far as when most farmers markets or people that grow for farmers markets, market gardeners that I know, they are on 16 to 20 inch spaces between the plants. It's a lot tighter than most people plant, and 5-foot rows. And everybody I know that does it commercially does the weave, sometimes called the Florida weave, where it's a stake, 3 to 5 plants, another stake, and you can do that for 100 yards if you want. If you spread them out too far, what happens, there's a plant here and a plant here. Well, these tomatoes get on them. They really sag in between the strings. If you got a lot of time, you can go in and tie strings, run another stake. But when you're doing thousands of plants, that's not feasible. So that's why they usually stuff them, say 15 to 20 inches apart, and then, or 5 inches on the rows. So, that's basically how it goes. There's different, some people prune more than others depending on their growth situation, their labor situation, or what they've had success or failures with in the past. I typically, the most common way is to plant the plant, let it grow about a month, and take the bottom 4 to 6 suckers off, and then you're just growing and weaving from that point on.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. Yeah. Because, well, I live in Ohio, and it, like, in between spring and summer, we get massive amounts of rain and stuff like that. If we don't do that, we're going to have all different kinds of weird mildewy problems if we don't have a good airflow underneath. So
yeah, that makes sense. And we're fortunate, typically once, say, May hits, we're dry until October. So we do have a dry growing season. Typically, sometimes we'll have thunderstorms and stuff like that, but it's definitely not as challenging as when you're having big summer rains. And making little, if I had a home garden and it rained all the time, I would try to make some sort of framework shelter over my garden. And this works almost anywhere because it gives you the ability to manipulate Mother Nature a little bit. If you plant it early and there's a frost, you could have a cloth or a piece of plastic over that framework. If it hailed early in the springtime, you didn't get damage. And then around here, in a lot of places, after June or so, it starts 95, 100 every day. You could put partial shade cloth over that too. So not a complete entrapment, but just even a roof with a little bit of sides. You don't want to make an oven, but you can manipulate 100% of how much you irrigate at that point, and at least your plant's not sitting soaked. So you're talking about bricks. I think the most important thing to get bricks, I haven't done a lot of bricks testing. There's people who would run around the farmer's market with them. Usually cherries rate higher. So the variety is going to matter. And the way to get the most intense tomatoes, this is pretty much with all of them, is to let them really work for water before harvest. So my general plan is I'm really pretty nice to them. I water pretty good twice a weekish for 2 to 3 months. I build the factory, 3, 4, 5 foot tall tomato plants, lots of flowers, lots of fruit set if everything's gone good so far. And as soon as I start to see a little bit of color with some ripening tomatoes, I'll back off on the water up to 50% sometimes. I, at that point, let the plant, if everything's good, and if you're in the ground, you have feet and feet of roots down below the surface. And when you can go a week or even longer without watering, you're going to pick the best flavored tomatoes you've had. If you haven't had any rain, there'll be no cracks, no splits. If you'd have watered them a bunch, that tomato would be 20, 30% bigger, but it'd be 20 to 30% less dense and less flavorful, in my opinion. Yeah. So the right variety and a little bit water restricted, and then having pretty decent summer conditions, that's going to give you the best chance of optimizing, say, the sweetness of your tomato, and probably be your highest bricks rating for the season right at that point.
Yeah, I don't water my tomatoes at all. Well, and it's mainly because it is Ohio. We do get a lot of rain typically, but on a normal basis, summertime, I don't water them at all. I just let them. And when you do water them, they split really easily and stuff like that. So it's best to just kind of let them, like you said, starve for water for a little bit.
There's a fine line to it. You got to read your plant, read your soil a little bit. You don't want to starve it. You don't want it to droop. You don't want the soil to get rock hard. So there's kind of a fine line to it. But yeah, if you built your soil and your roots have deep access, either in a nice bed or in the soil itself, doesn't work for container growing. If you did everything right, and your roots will be 2 to 4 feet long, at least, way down in the ground, and then letting them really work for that water. And that's what I used to do to just bring tomatoes to the next level was a little bit of deficit watering. And with a well-established plant, yeah, if you can go a week, even longer without watering, you're going to have the best tomato experience. And almost all splitting and cracking on the skin is excess water, either water on the plant or water down in the root zone. A lot of heirlooms have thin skin, so the inside will grow faster than what the skin allows for, and that's where you get splitting and cracking.
Okay. Now, how about your soil? Two things. I know you go organic, but when do you feed and what do you feed when you start? What's your middle and like the end? You don't feed at all, but what's your process for feeding your plants?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different formulas, obviously, depending on what your soil is, your plant uptake, everything else. The best thing that I think 80, at least maybe even 90% of gardens can go with a twice a year addition of organic, dry, usually like a pelleted. It'll look like rabbit pellets, or there's different forms of it. Some of that's a granular organic fertilizer, and a 1 to 4 inch layer of really good compost. If you do that twice a year, your soil is going to be very healthy, because the best, easiest way to grow is to have healthy soil. I started off throwing down handfuls of triple 16 pellets under the drip line, and the person I was learning from, that's how they did it, and I just thought that was the way. And then I went early on, over 20 years ago, and I went and visited some organic farms, and I expected things to be totally different, like their plants would be small and stuff, and they had the biggest, best plants, the least amount of bugs, the best quality produce, because they were taking care of their soil, and it allowed natural uptake. When you're using chemical fertilizers, you're forcing that into the plant. If you're using organic fertilizers, you're building the soil, and the plant will always take it at like a nice regulated pace, whatever it wants or needs. So in general, once, if not twice, applications of pelletized fertilizer and compost mixed into the soil. Once you get a nice soil, you can only mix it into the first top few inches if you wanted. A lot of people are into not mixing their soil. Initially, if I had hard pan, I wouldn't go no-till. I'd spend at least 1 year breaking that up and trying to get organic matter 1 or 2 feet down into your soil, because that's what you want, is the nutrients to be spread out all underneath your plant, where your roots are going to basically reach far and wide. You don't want them just going down into one little spot where all the nutrients and water is underneath, just right into your plant. And actually, a really good grower years ago called that flower potting. He goes, you got the whole ground there. You don't want to use the amount of wet and soil in a little flower pot, because I was just doing little fertilizations and I was watering so often. So 1 to 2 times a year with some organic fertilizer and some compost. Once you get your soil really healthy, you can go with like twice a year compost only. My parents have some raised beds that for a lot of years they did just the compost twice a year, but they were topping them off 4-6 inches sometimes twice a year of compost, and that just made the microbe army. And there's no better fertilizer in the world than the microbe army. I've known a lot of giant pumpkin growers. There's a lot from Napa Valley where I'm from. And if out of the little green or blue box was the best way to grow 1,000, 2,000 pound pumpkins, that's what they'd be doing. And as far as I know, 100% of them are organic growers that use compost, teas, and organic fertilizers. They found that that is the best thing for the health of the pumpkin, the plant, everything. So proofs in the
pudding. I was going to ask you about the compost.
Yeah, we were putting an egg in every hole, because I have a farm and I always have extra eggs. But unfortunately, the raccoons liked the eggs too.
Yeah,
one year I planted like 70 some tomato plants. They were in the ground ready to go. And we go out there and each one of them were pulled out of the ground. So it was so bad.
Part of the fun is battling Mother Nature, I guess. It's always a lesson learned. Yeah.
If it's super stinky, something's going to come over and eat it.
Yeah.
Whether it be a dog, a raccoon, or something. But yeah, it's.
Now,
go ahead, Joe.
Now, a lot of people rotate your plants and stuff, but I always believe if you have the right organic matter and you have the right stuff in the soil, you can plant in the same spot every year. If you have the right organic matter, your microbes, everything working together. What's your thought?
So when I plant in the field, I try, when I'm planting a big field, there's no way to really like take all the plants and all the plant matter and really clean it up. So I learned I would rotate at least every 2 years. If you had a really good crop, you could almost always plant another crop. Third time, because of the lack of cleanup involved, a lot of it, you're just disking the plants back into the ground and stuff. I didn't like to go to the well 3 times. It could come back and bite you. My parents have raised beds. They've been growing huge tomato plants in for over 15 years, and it's part due diligence and part luck. So they have the microbe army. That's good. If funguses and bad guys land in that growing area, a lot of times they're devoured by some of those microbes, eat fungus spores or whatever. So you have that working for you. They keep very healthy environment. They're also very diligent. At the end of the year, they try to pull up all the roots, stems, leaves, and that's good for any garden in a small size. That's almost always where your diseases and pests over harbor, is in some of the leftover material from the year before. So cleaning up really good, having a really healthy grow environment, and then a dose of luck too, because no matter how diligent you are, sometimes bad things can come in or show up or whatever. So yeah, most people in their yard don't have a huge amount of spot to rotate, especially if you're growing in raised beds or in a small garden area. So keep that soil as healthy as possible, do some rotating if you can, and try to be very diligent about cleaning up, and be observant, and try to figure out if you've gone to the well one too many times.
That's great advice.
Okay, now potting soil and seed starting. But the trays, I seen like one, because you grow so many plants, you have the large trays, the 224s or whatever they are. Do you use the same soil mix or potting soil or that you use when you repot?
So usually when I'm seed starting, we use an extra light mix, because the tip of your pinky, that's how much soil is underneath each seed basically. And so that needs to be a very light mix. I've taken regular high grade organic potting mix and run it through a little screen, sometimes a bottom flats or a 1/4 inch screen or something, and that'll work just fine. Seed starting mix works, but I think it's far from a necessity. I've never actually purchased seed starting mix myself. I've always purchased the highest quality organic potting mix that I can buy at my local nursery, and then I screen it. Or even with tomatoes, you can put it in the cells and maybe pick out anything bigger than your pinky nail. Anything smaller than that's going to be just fine. The same mix can be, when I sell tomatoes, I go from the 288 cells, the small little tip of your pinky, and then I go into either a 3.5 or a 4-inch cup. You can use a little heavier mix at that point. It holds a little more. And then if I was going to grow in a 20-gallon container or something, I'd try to go with a heavier potting mix too, just to hold a little moisture. When you're dealing with small plants, it's kind of nice to have a fairly light soil. The trays are easier to pack around, and they really they're easier to water when people are at nurseries, say, taking care of the plants, and they're kind of doing a quick job. That lighter potting mix seems to suck up the water they're giving them a little quicker. So
yeah.
So I go with basically the best potting mix I can use. I can start any seeds I think in the world with that. You might have to screen it or pick out a few pieces. So.
Yeah, that's actually a really great idea, because a lot of seed starting mixes are super expensive.
And I think they're just a regular potting mix that's been run over a screen.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, exactly. There's really nothing that special about it. But yeah, so
and tomato seeds are pretty small, and if they can start in a good quality potting mix. Like I said, even anything smaller than your pinky nail, you're good to go. And a tomato seed's fairly small, so you should be good to go with almost anything.
Yeah.
And the general rule of thumb, I believe, is a seed should be buried about 3 to 4 times the width of the seed. So that's your general rule of thumb. If your seed was 1 inch, you'd plant it down 3 inches.
Yeah.
So the size of a tomato, just think 3 to 4 times the depth of that.
Right. And that's not just for tomatoes. That's for anything, guys.
It's kind of a general guide for most seeds. Yeah.
I think a lot of people get confused. They get the seed packet and there's really nothing on the back. And they're like, how do I do this? You know?
Yeah, so, usually I try to say about 1/2 of a pencil eraser to a pencil eraser deep. That's about 1/8 to 1/4 inch on tomato seeds. If I go a little deeper than that, usually it's just a few days delayed germination. Sometimes they're barely covered or on the top. I call them, they'll do a spin out. They'll just kind of grow a little instead of the root going down and sinking in, it'll spin. If you catch those quick enough, you can just put them just underneath a little bit of soil and they'll figure out which way is up and down and grow.
So what do you do to get that? Sometimes you have that seed that stays on.
Yeah, the seed husk, that's actually the outside shell and it's going to crack. Misting them a lot helps. And my number one way, if you have really stubborn, they almost look like a helmet, you know, you'll have the little stem and it'll just be stuck on there. If that thing, usually it'll crack open. If it doesn't crack open, they'll deadhead and just sit there because those cotyledon leaves, the first leaves, need to erupt out of there and start providing energy to the seedling. The seedling had enough energy to get to that point. Now the sun needs to start producing. So misting them a lot helps. And the number one is a little bit of spit. I get a little spit on my finger and put it on the seed husk that's, and that it stays moist for longer that way. And usually 80–90% of them will, the next day they'll pop off. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I don't usually have that with my tomatoes, but it always, like the bigger seeds, like squash and stuff like that, it always holds on to the last possible second. So
yeah, even some like giant pumpkin seeds are huge and they actually have to file off an edge. They've now evolved to a point with only human care. So the seed is so heavy and thick or whatever, they usually file the edge on those to allow them to come out.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's wow.
Now, if you have a temperature in your greenhouse and it went below 45, under 50, have you seen a stunt in your plants during like 2 week stunt in your plant?
If anything, you might lose one day. That's been my observation out of all the seedlings I've grown and done it. So I have an outdoor greenhouse and it can still cost me a lot of propane just to keep it. If a lot of times it'll be 35–40 degrees here at night I just started seeds today, my very first round, hopeful for planting out April 1st. But February is a nasty month around here. It's always super cold, super windy. So you have to add a heating source. So what I do, I try to keep it above 55 at night. And I try to keep it below 75 during the day. If you got a lot of light and it's below 75, your plants will grow very nice and stocky. Once you get over that temperature with seedlings, they elongate at a little bit of a rapid pace and it's not the best option. I can tell you that over the years, there's been a lot of times when I walked out to the greenhouse and it was 30 degrees, 30 or say 35, frost everywhere. And I opened the greenhouse door and the heater died. I should have changed the propane the night before. Maybe it's 40 degrees in there. It's never caused a tragedy. It wasn't low enough to freeze the cell of the plant. I have seen that happen. But so to actually have real frost damage or to kill it, the cells in the leaves need to actually freeze. So any greenhouse, those leaves aren't going to freeze, but it might slow them down. They might not like it. They might not think you're their best friend for a day, but I don't think you lose more than maybe a day's growth from what I've seen. Because plenty of times I've had my greenhouse get down in the 40s with tens of thousands of small plants in there, and it was never a tragedy. I wasn't happy when I first found out, but there was no long term.
Last year when we had all those fires and stuff, we had really weird weather. And so the temperature it got really cold some nights. And we're like, and this was beyond our frost day. We were right on time with everything. It's just because of the weird freakish weather that we had. So, oh man, I was nervous.
Yeah, each year is different. We've had some of those smoke years too here in California, and it's definitely different. You got to kind of roll with the punches and hope everything grew good once it cleared up then. Or you're just delayed in actually getting the ground warm enough for you to plant? Is that what
Yeah, it was just really, really cold. And it took forever for the plants to really take off.
Yeah, because they won't do anything in 50 degree, 60 degree soil temperature, air temperature. They eke an existence, slowly grow. 70 plus is where they really get their juices flowing, especially with a tomato plant. Once it starts getting established, if you give it would rather be 80–85 degrees, I feel, as long as it's getting all the water nutrients that it wants. And that's when they really say, summer's here, let's do it.
Yeah. We're going to delay a lot this year because of that. So we're not going to plant right after a frost date. We're going to wait till the end of the month to plant.
Yeah, that's I find a lot of we'll say the older growers or whatever, they'll wait around here. A lot of times you can plant in April, and a lot of them wait till Mother's Day, first or second week of May or whatever. I always like the early quest, so I always say plant no matter what the size of your garden. Go for 20-30% of the size of your tomato patch. Go for some early varieties and try planting early, right around that last day of frost or somewhere in that. That way, if you succeed, you got tomatoes a few weeks earlier than your neighbors. If you fail, you only lost a small amount of your garden, and it can easily be replanted. So that's what I try to do.
Brad Gates, you're a risk taker.
There's nothing cooler than being the first one on the block with a ripe tomato, though. It can be worth the effort, and although it can be frustrating challenge, but yeah. So I always go at least a little bit early, but a lot of people plant all theirs at one time. And if you're trying to go early, I don't think that's a good idea. Too many things can happen or whatever. And by at least doing 2 planting dates, spreading out by 2 to 4 weeks, a lot can happen weather-wise. Some can do a lot better than the others, even though they're only a few weeks in between the planting. It can be the same soil, same sun, same varieties. Some do better than others. And then that also spreads out the harvest a lot of times. Maybe you'll be picking the ones you planted first, and they start to peter out, and then you planted these other plants a month later, and hey, those green fruits are just starting to get ripe. So I'm used to it because I market garden, and I actually planted at least 4 times during the season. That was always, you had to have overlap over overlap to try to not have holes in your harvest.
Now, with the smoke in New Jersey, we had and in a lot of the Northeast, everybody had a delayed abundance, you could say, just a delayed harvest. It wasn't the same harvest as it usually came.
Yeah.
It was like 2 or 3 weeks later. It was really odd. Everybody goes, "Hey, did you get tomatoes yet?" No, it's like August. It was just very middle of August. People are getting tomatoes.
Yeah, you missed out on a couple of weeks of growth if you added it all up. Probably, the cooler temperatures and the lack of sunshine.
Right.
Maybe your plants were going half or more of what they could have been under optimum conditions. Be my guess.
Going back to seed start in greenhouse, how many fans do you have in there going? Do you go, and how much airflow or a fan on your plants do you need per day, per week, or whatever?
A lot of mine have not had fans for airflow. Most of my greenhouses have had like roll up sides and doors. So what I do is I grow plugs. It's about a month. They're this tall, so it's a 1-month-old tomato plant. Then I transplant them into a larger cup, 3.5, 4-inch, all by themselves. They're given about 3 or 4 weeks in a greenhouse. So, and then they're nice tall plant ready to go to a nursery or to be planted outdoors. So it depends. I've had really nice high rolling sides and open ends to where I'll get nice airflow. It's almost always windy here in the spring, but you don't want stagnant heat. You don't want it 10 or 20 degrees hotter up high than down low. So that factor can vary quite a bit depending on your size, your environment, and how much ventilation you can add to that environment before you need to turn on the fan. So a little bit of fan's good. You don't want constant fan. That's one of the worst. Light breeze, in a perfect world, the fan's going, oscillating, and it's just a little bit of a shake, and then it stops a little bit, and a little bit of a shake. That would probably be the nicest. A lot of times, another thing I do to stocky my plants up is I can drag towels, shirts, or my arm across the whole table of the plants, and literally what doesn't kill them makes them stronger. So weak, tall seedlings are my enemy, especially when I'm trying to sell them. So I like to keep lots of light, cool temperatures. Don't let it, if possible, let it get over 75 degrees in the greenhouse, and then fans and dragging my hand or dragging a cloth across the top of the table several times a day. It will build up the cambium layer in the plant. They adjust to their environment. If they're out in a place where they need to be stocky because there's wind or something brushing them, they'll instinctively get stockier stems on them. So the cool temperature, lots of light, and maybe some air circulation, or even a little petting once in a while.
I gotta ask you, your tomatoes have like the coolest names. Where did they come from?
They've come from all over. So a lot of the ones that just have a boar or pig name, they're not as exciting. But actually, I grew for a lot of years, and many years I was like, I'm not playing this farmer's market tomato game anymore. I've got to get a real job. And then I was so far into it. So early on, there was Garden Web. It was one of the earliest tomato forums I ever came across many years ago. And it was one of those years where I'm like, I just can't do it again. I'm going to quit. But I have all these amazing varieties. I need to get them in the hands of some people so the tomato world can enjoy them. And I picked out about a half dozen people on this forum, sent them tomatoes, and I literally just slapped a bunch of pig names on them: pink boar, blonde boar, black and brown boar. And then my thought was, that was easy to name them, and maybe 10 or 20 years from now, somebody will be growing a garden and they'll say, why are all the dumb pig named tomatoes the best ones in my garden? And then maybe it would lead back to me. So since then, I've gotten a little more creative. My wife comes up with some great names. I've named several of them. I've had friends name them. And then the internet also has been really fun. Putting a picture and a description online. I did that with all 4 of my new releases this year. And so each one, I believe, had hundreds of suggestions. It was unbelievable and fun, and names and words that I could have never done myself. So we did kind of a team naming. We've done that several times too. So a little bit of everything. The first time I ever put a cool name on it was Berkeley Tie-Dye, and I was literally at a farmer's market in Oakland, about a mile down the street from Berkeley, and that was just an imaginary line on the street. And this guy, I would describe him just as a hippie. He looked like what you would think as a hippie, and he had a tie-dye shirt, and he walks up to the box of Berkeley tie-dyes, which is a green, red, yellow, multicolored tomato, and he kind of holds it to his tie-dyed shirt, and it blended right in. He looks at me like, you know, right there, like Berkeley tie-dye. So from that time on, that's when I actually started thinking, you know, that's a cool name, and maybe I should give a little more of a romantic name or an exciting name or an alluring name to some of my tomato varieties. So.
I love that story. That's great.
So Brett, I want to go to your website, and I want you, if you could talk about some of the tomatoes there. And we got some other questions and stuff. So I want to show everybody your site where you can buy your tomatoes.
Cool. The old wildboarfarms.com, shameless plug.
There it is. Well, we have Jane Doe in the chat. She's going to be showing your link the whole time. So if she probably has already done that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Wild Boar Farms. There, exotic tomatoes. So yes, also has growing guides. There's the plant sales, events, shop online. That's where you want to go buy your seeds. And let's talk about your
money. I'm going to buy some Brad's Wild Boar Farms seeds probably this week.
So talk about some of your new releases.
Yeah, so those are all patio style tomatoes. Seems to be the common reference. Those grow about 12 to 20 inches tall. And it's just kind of been the natural evolution of my, breeding process. Originally, 20 years ago, I started having a bunch of cool striped tomatoes show up my garden. Green zebra was the only one that I knew of in existence. So it's easy to rewrite the tomato world with different shapes, sizes, colors with striping. Then the whole purple blue anthocyanin thing came around, and I kind of picked and chose different shape, sizes, and color and splashed them in the purple blue. Then kind of the next evolution was, why not grow a plant that's a foot or two tall and has really extreme production potential? And we have a lot of people are always asking, I have a patio, a deck, a small garden area. How can I maximize my space? And these are absolutely the best choice, I feel, for a container or a small space or an area where you could grow 6 varieties instead of 1 or 2. So they're new plant habitat. There's always been, say, patio style small tomato varieties for a while, but most of them are hybrids, and they fit the hybrid mold for me: round, red, and tasteless. So these were crosses with more gourmet varieties, and I grew out thousands of plants to pick and choose the best of the best out, the best representations out of the cross that I could find. So these have been grown for about 7. This is about 7 generations from the original cross. So for a while, I was doing 2 generations a year. Sometimes I do 2, sometimes I do 1. Ends up being a lot of work trying to get 2, but I have done it. So it's typically 6 to 8 generations, depending on how you're selecting, and if you made a good selection, didn't get an accidental cross or something in between.
Now, you say that you live in Napa Valley, or you were raised in Napa Valley, right?
Yeah, I was
So
born there and was there a lot. 5 years ago, I moved to the Sacramento area.
have you ever made like a tomato that was like possibly good for winemaking?
I make tomato beer every year when I ferment my seeds, but I don't know. I've never, I guess you could probably make wine. You can make something out of everything. I'm not sure why I know some people that make wine. I'm not sure why it's never come up or whatever. So I joke about the tomato beer. The process for the seeds is to squeeze the juice in the seeds into a container and basically ferment/rot them for about 3 or 4 days. And it's an acquired smell, but it smells good after a while. Yeah. To me, it's the smell of summer and success of a harvest, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely has a bit of a beer smell to it. I've drank a little bit, but never enough to see how good or bad it is for you.
So, Brad, you said the new releases are patio, but would you consider it also a dwarf tomato since they're only 10 to 20 inches tall?
Yeah, it could be a dwarf too. There's so many categories or whatever. Like I have some dwarf lines that I've worked with that grow 3 feet plus tall, and it's a plant so big you couldn't put your arms around it. Where these are typically, about 1 foot by 2 foot, I would say is more of the stat. So they're smaller than what I've known as typical dwarfs, but they'd definitely be a dwarf. They're actually also semi-indeterminate. So there's determinate, which means all your flowers come and then they all ripen at the same time. Indeterminate, which pretty much all of my varieties are, where they have ripe fruit, flowers, and continue to flower. And then semi-determinate, where they put off a pretty good crop and then put out some flowers and some fruit after. So these plants are semi-determinate, where you'll have a lot of green fruit, ripe fruit, but still a bunch of decent amount of flowers on the upper part of the plant at the same time. So they produce potentially over a pretty good long period.
So I'm on the regular page where you can buy your tomatoes. Talk about some of the tomatoes, and I want to point it out on the website what you're talking about, which ones, whatever you would want to talk about for your tomatoes. Could you see anything I have there? Or?
All right. Well, you got the Berries Crazy Cherry there. You said you've grown that one, the big cluster hanging there. So that's a real non-photoshopped picture. And I've heard some funny comments like on Instagram. This one person said, I saw this variety. I thought that can't be it. And then I looked and there was 10 people in a row holding the same cluster from 10 different states, So that was an interesting fluke that I found. That, to me, I think that's one of the most.
It looks like white grapes.
Yeah, that's one of the best cherry varieties you can grow, I think, for a home gardener or a market gardener. It's durable, it's tasty, it's unique, and it's abundant. Those are all really good things. So that was a cool one. Lucid Gem, Black Beauty, Brad's Atomic Grape. Those have been really, really popular and good for the last several years. Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye was one of my first varieties. And when I first started selling seeds and plants, that was always one of my top sellers. So this is actually the green Berkeley Tie-Dye. That's the one that the quote unquote hippie guy held up at the farmer's market. So that's got red, yellow, and green. And as far as I know, that was the first tricolored tomato I know that I'd ever held in my hand that actually we had bicolor interior, and this one actually had a tricolor. The yellow doesn't show up so much in that picture, but has a red, yellow, and a green. Each color in the tomato has a distinct flavor. So that's almost like a blended bottle of wine in the skin right there. The red's a little bit sweeter, the green's a little bit tartar, and the yellow's kind of mellow. So it makes the ultimate. If you ever get different, even bicolors, cut out a little section of, say, the red and cut out a section of the yellow and do a taste test. Yeah, like the Beauty King, there's a example of a red, yellow. And the 2 different colors on the interior will give you 2 different flavor profiles.
Wow.
I definitely got to get the Beauty King. I have never had that one before.
My theme this year is dark tomatoes. So
okay, yeah, I have a lot of good choices for that. Like I said, that pink Berkeley tie-dye, that's one of my best ones all around. That was my top seller for a lot of years. It's early. It seems to do good in cool climates, and it has pretty good, decent tolerance to some heat too.
nice. Oh my gosh, that Black Beauty. Look at the inside of that.
Yeah,
It looks,
that's
it
a
looks like
really
blood.
popular one, and it
Oh my
literally
Lord.
does taste as good as it looks there. And interesting note about the anthocyanin. So that was discovered from a wild tomato. I'm not sure how many years ago now. And I guess all tomatoes have the gene for anthocyanin. Most of them don't have it turned on. From what I've learned, I've gone down the rabbit hole several times and don't know that much about it still. It was like a wild brambling vine found along a canal, and it had tiny little dark purple tomatoes on it. And one of the people that sent me the first crosses from this said they took and had that tomato, and it was the worst tomato they'd ever had in their life, not even edible at all. And they crossed it with what they said were the best tasting tomatoes they'd ever had, which was several varieties of mine. And then they sent me some seeds. So interestingly, the first at least 2 generations were mediocre at best. I started growing thousands of plants of it, hundreds the first year, thousands the second time, trying to look and see what sizes, what flavor, what is in store here, what are the possibilities. And it was actually like the 3rd generation when I started getting some, after picking the best of the best for a couple of generations, when I finally ate one and went, wow, now that is good. That's like an 8 on the scale right there. This is a very good sellable tomato. And then that was kind of a cool realization that I found out that you could have these nice, super dark anthocyanin varieties and have a nice edible flavor in them too.
I never heard of this one, the blonde boar.
Yeah, that was back. I said I had the slap that pig name on there. It was blonde and it was coming from my farm, so it wasn't the most catching, enlightening, or romantic name, but there it is. That one is very durable, does really good even in the heat. It thing has never let me down on an above average harvest. And some of mine, like this blonde boar, has a really good flavor. A lot of times when you get into those pale yellows and stuff, they call them mild or whatever, but that's almost like trying to spice up the flavor or whatever. So that one actually has really good flavor. And another one, pork chop, that's a yellow, and still to this day, I've had that for a while. I've never tasted a better yellow tomato than that one. So originally I grew a lot of yellow heirlooms, and they were known for being low acid, but they were so mild it didn't have a lot of flavor. So I tried to work it, being able to have some lighter colored tomatoes with some fairly bold taste to them.
There's the pork chop, guys. I had the pork chop. I absolutely love the pork chop tomato. What a great tomato that is. Wow. I'll be growing this tomato every single year.
Nice.
Let me see what else.
I have to say, in the farmer's market, I over the 20 years, I had many times had people walk up to my table and say, do you have anything as good as a Jersey grown tomato? So you guys have a pretty good reputation of being able to grow some good tomatoes there, from what I've heard dozens and dozens of times, people asking me that were from the East Coast if they had anything that would compare to what they'd eaten in New Jersey. So
2 tomatoes a day keeps the doctor away. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. You guys are in that region. You have really good. Your native soil overall is very nice. Ohio, New Jersey, that whole area really got laid out some beautiful soil when the glaciers receded there.
Now this is one of my top favorites is Solar Flare. I love this tomato. Absolutely love it.
They're really good one. And when people are, I call them red tomato purists, that's one of the ones I lead them to. Some people just don't. It's less all the time, but some people just don't get the same satisfaction out of a tomato if it's bright, unless it's bright red. Which many of those people over time I've fooled with a blind tasting, gave them 3 or 4 different colors, and said, pick out the red one, I'll feed it to you, and they almost always got it wrong. So it's a little bit of mental. We all know that you perceive certain things before you actually get there.
Now, how about this? I was very curious about this, the wine jug.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
Yeah, well, that one, just being from the wine country, it got that name or whatever. That was actually a mutation that I found from, I don't remember if it was Black Crim. I don't think it was Prudence Purple. I don't think it was Cherokee Purple. Back in the day, I was growing 6 or 8 different similar dark tomatoes. And I had a row of like 100 plants, and that one came out with that shape. So it was totally different. A few times I've found mutations, and that actually makes the breeding work easier. When it mutates, you actually say, if that was the first time that tomato showed up on the plant, I could take those seeds, and if they all come true the next year, that was actually a mutation, not a cross.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Oh, the Trenton Tiger. That's a New Jersey tomato, isn't it? No,
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Trenton. No.
That one's named after my son, but we can call it Trenton, New Jersey tomato.
So how many kids do you have?
I have 3.
3 kids. 2 boys and a girl. What do you?
Yeah, 2 boys and a girl. Yeah.
Nice. Do they help out on a?
Yeah, so my first 2 kids are a little older. That's Evan's Purple Pear and Haley's Purple Comet. Those were my 2 first varieties that I selected for and bred going back over 20 years ago. And yeah, so those are the first. So they got the first 2 named varieties, I guess.
Nice.
This is another tomato I have had in the past, Napa Chardonnay.
Yeah, that's really, really excellent. That one has outstanding flavor. I've had many people tell me that's their favorite tasting tomato. So the Napa Rosé, you'll see, I think it was next to that one. So that's a pink one. And that one, so I have the blue Bourberries, which is a dark anthocyanin variety. And when I was growing out a bunch of crosses of that, this pink showed up with no anthocyanin expression. I was trying to breed anthocyanin varieties, but I tasted that tomato and I went, wow, it tastes like a beefsteak almost, instead of a cherry tomato alone with just the sweetness. It had such a richness. So the flavor was so good for there. I went ahead and selected that, even though that whole project was for breeding purple tomatoes. And then a farm that I sold seeds to, they were growing about 200 plants of Napa Rosé, and I was walking down the row, and there was a yellow plant, and it had the same exact plant stature, the same exact shape, everything. And right away, I thought, I wonder if that's a mutation. I just saved seeds and tried it, and I grew it the next year, and it's grown out true ever since then. And yeah, it's the exact replica of the Napa Rosé. What ends up happening with the mutation, we have tons of genes in them. I consider it like a stoplight. Maybe that gene is turned off, maybe it's turned on. That could give you different expressions, your whatever it is. So a color expression can mutate in a tomato. It goes from pink to that pale yellow, almost white color. What it always does is a different color of a tomato will always give you at least a slightly, if not drastically different flavor profile. So the Napa Rosé, Napa Chardonnay, being sisters technically, have completely different flavor. Another example of that is the Cherokee Purples, are really common, was one of the first really popular heirloom tomatoes. It's still really popular. And one of those mutated green, and just from the changing color, the plant looks the same, the fruit looks the same shape and everything, but it's a bright green, and the flavor's completely different. They're on almost completely opposite spectrums of the tomato flavor. So just changing the color in a tomato changes the flavor composite a lot.
How about the kryptonite? I've never grown that one yet either.
Yeah, that one's a very, very good one. Super durable, bright looking. It's kind of that bright green color is going to be a requirement on any complete heirloom tomato salad during the summer or whatever. So that's one of the, it just has a really killer flavor, whatever. A little bit of a weird plant. It only grows 4 feet tall a lot of times. It has a lot of natural leaf curl on that one. I should actually put that in the description that I think about. I'm not sure. A lot of the anthocyanin varieties have a decent amount of natural leaf curl. So that one's a little bit of a weird plant, but it has never let me down on buckets of super durable fruit. That's another one that tomato will last 2 to 4 weeks off the plant on the counter at room temperature and not go mealy on most occasions. So.
How do you know when those ones particularly are ripe? It's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah, it's a lot like a green zebra where it'll go from that like a lighter green without the amber, that little bit of amber yellow color you see on those tomatoes. That's going to be the giveaway. And that one also is so hard, it'll turn amber a few days before it's really ripe. So you can do a little bit of test driving. If you get just the slightest bit of give, you know, that it seems like when tomatoes get ripe, the skin kind of smoothens out, and you don't want to be squeezing somebody else's tomatoes, but if they're your own, give it just a slight little squeeze and give on it. Also, taste testing. Some of these have different colors. Sometimes you have to taste test them and see. A lot of them too, that indigo apple, when you think it's ripe, wait another week and pick it if it's not extremely hot. Even if it's fairly hot, I've had those look like they're almost ripe, and you leave them on the vine another week and they turn really good or whatever. Or you could pick them half ripe, leave them on your counter for a week. They become edible decorations. So a lot of it's trial and error, test driving them and stuff. With the blue purple ones, they get, even when they're green, they'll start turning purple. And a lot of people even want to try to pick them at that point, or they'll pick them. They, you know, it's easy to get excited about your first half ripe tomato. It's not fully ripe. You can't wait another half week or whatever. And you eat it and you think, that's kind of mediocre. A little while later, you eat another one. It's mediocre. Then you go to some other plants. Then you let it get to this. That's the ripeness and the color that you actually want in those varieties. So many times I've had people think, I heard it was so good, but then I've had some and it wasn't that good. And then they let that plant sit there for a week or two while they got interested in some other tomatoes, happened to walk by and gave it another try and went, wow, welcome to my garden all the time. So a lot of that is trial and error, figuring out where it's at for your palate and how you like them.
Huh. The blue chocolate and the blueberries I've planted before. They're pretty awesome.
Here we go. One of your most famous tomatoes from, Baker's Creek, that was selling them at the time. Brad's Atomic Grape.
Yeah, that has become probably my top seller or whatever. And that Baker Creek actually put that name on it. It worked out. They gave me a 3-year deal on the seeds, so I prefer you buy them from me now because I don't make any money when you buy them from them. But it worked out good for me. They came up with I let them go ahead and name it. They came up with the Atomic Grape. I thought it was cool. And then when the catalog came out, it said Brad's Atomic Grape, which I would never put that name on it myself. But then after somebody else put it on there, I'm okay with it and think it's cool.
Yeah, they're really neat. They're really pretty in the garden.
Yeah, that one also has the ability to produce in a wide area. I've seen that one growing in a cool, foggy coastal zone several times around here. I've had pictures sent to me from 7,000 feet in Colorado Rockies with ripe tomatoes. I've seen pictures in Seattle and I've seen pictures in Phoenix. So that one has better than average, for sure, ability to grow in different environments, which is always a bonus. And that one also has great shelf life also. Sometimes I'll pick those and you could eat them a week to 3 off the plant, and they've actually gotten even better instead of worse. So they don't tend to get mealy. It takes a long time for them.
Yeah, the disease resistance on this plant has always been amazing for me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah, I've heard that. I always hate to make any claims for that because people can put a lot on it or have different results or whatever. But I have heard that people have good disease resistance from that one. And I've seen pictures and had my own results for like greenhouse production. That one puts off walls of tomatoes. It's been very good in like greenhouse growing, container growing, single lateral pruning, just about everything.
I wonder why it has disease resistance, a little of that to it. I wonder what.
I don't know if it, all the blue ones have a decent amount of wild genetics in them. That anthocyanin came from a wild variety. It's not across the board, but most of them seem to have a little bit better disease tolerance. And I think maybe it's from that.
Maybe it's just like a hardier, it came from a hardier strand. That's
and then, you know, you get that hybrid vigor or whatever too, when you're taking a pretty domesticated variety and then crossing with a really wild variety. Lots of cool things can come out of it.
really neat.
So this is the cosmic eclipse.
Yep.
So a lot of people, when they're growing these or having these, they don't know when it's ripe. That's one of the biggest issues.
So you can kind of see on the top left middle, that one's a green one. So when you're seeing that color in the fruit, you're actually looking through the clear skin into the color of the fruit. So a lot of these anthocyanin varieties, they only show the anthocyanin variety where the sun has come in and either directly or indirectly hit them. So what you want to do is look at the back of the fruit where the sun doesn't shine and look at it. And if you see the really dark green color that looks like a green tomato, you'll be looking right through the skin and seeing the actual green unripe fruit. So try to look where the sun doesn't shine and look for some good color, whether it's a yellow and ripe. This one's kind of a rusty red. We have pink. So there's different color ripenesses, but you want to look at that back of the tomato. And if you see that green look to it, then it's not ripe yet. You're waiting for the fruit inside to turn color.
Dude, I had no idea that you had, like, I've looked on your site before, but I don't know. I never paid attention. I had no idea that you had all of these tomatoes, and I've grown them before. And I'm like, wait a minute.
It adds up over the years. And usually I would add 3 to 6 or so per year or whatever, and then it adds up kind of quickly.
So awesome.
And there's potentially dozens of new things in the future too. It's unlimited. I have new different plant structures. I have some amazing new cherry tomatoes, several different cherry tomatoes varieties that are going to be coming out. And so yeah, it kind of could never end. There's just really, probably when you take all the tomato genetics, there's got to be millions of possibilities. Not all of them will be good or great, but like you're reading about, the tomatoes have changed more in the last 10 years than they ever have. I truly believe that, even though I wrote that probably 5 or 10 years ago. It's still going, but we've come a long ways, and it was really cool. 25-ish years ago, farmers markets were popping up, and that's what saved a lot of these heirlooms that we had. Probably a big amount of them already went extinct, but everybody was digging in their drawer, asking grandma, chasing down stories of old varieties of produce and stuff. It was a new, cool thing. I grew up in the hybrid generation, and I remember when I first started learning what an heirloom was, that I thought it was really cool because you could save your own seeds. And that was kind of foreign to me. And I think that shouldn't be a foreign concept, that you should be able to, it's up until recently, before the hybrid generation, where everything's an F1 hybrid now. You grow it 1 year and then you don't know what you're getting the next year. So one of the first surprises that these heirlooms were so cool, you can actually save your own seeds to them, and that was one of the many things that got me really excited about them.
That's neat.
So we're on your Facebook page right now, and how often do you post on Facebook?
I mean, it's hit and miss. I try to have that and Instagram hooked together. So I had a goal where I was going to do it every day, and then sometimes I'll go, so much happens or whatever. So I try to do something every day, but it's probably more like on the average every 2 or 3 days.
There's your kryptonite. Kryptonite. You can imagine what came out of your mouth when that thing came up. I'm like, that's kryptonite.
Just the color of green, I'd only seen one other place. So.
Red Beauty tomato.
Yeah, that's actually a solar flare with some anthocyanin splash. So you maybe need to test drive that, since you think solar flare is so highly rated. So this is like a extra spicy up from the solar flare itself.
And I like spicy.
Dude, he's the only person, I've only ever seen one person actually drink hot sauce, and that's Joe.
Okay. I'm not in that league at all. I have a tender mouth that way.
So you get go become a member or subscribe to on his Facebook page. So you got a lot of live videos and giving great descriptions. Awesome. And there's the 4: Limelight, Canary Kiss, Dynamite, Delight, Emerald Flame.
Yeah, so those are the new patio ones. And yeah, each one of those was, I kind of farmed out the name. I put it out there, and then I let people throw names out there, and then actually gave people $50 gift certificate and a couple packets of seeds from a variety that they named or whatever. And it just seemed to be really cool, really fun. I run out of ideas sometimes, and it was really cool to crowdsource that. It was a fun thing.
Now, if you did container gardening, right, and say you had a bucket, how many tomato plants do you recommend? Just one plant per bucket? Like, how would you?
Yeah, that's so something like a 5-gallon bucket. That's a challenging grow. You're going to have to be tentative every day for the most part. Definitely not impossible. I actually have seen 20 years ago, I went into a greenhouse. This was a new realization. The guy had maybe 5-gallon plastic grow bags, and I doubt there was 2 or 3 gallons of soil in each one. And these plants were 16 foot tall, trained down to single lateral. But what he was growing is almost like almost hydroponic. He had a dosimeter where he had a very low dose of fertilizer constantly dripping in. So what I say with a lot of people fail in container growing, no matter what you put in that 10, 20, 30, 50-gallon container, whatever you have, it's hard to have nutrients in there 2 or 3 months down the line. The sun's eating some away, the plant's eating some of the way, you watered and it's run out the bottom and some of your nutrients went that direction. So I like to spoon feed low doses of organic fertilizer fairly frequently after, say, if in a container, I kind of read my plants to see how green they are, their leaves, how they're growing, everything. But if nothing else, typically about 2 months. Or if you look at your plant, it doesn't look as cool as nice as the picture you just saw on Facebook or something. Give it a 20% dose of fertilizer. I like to use a liquefied organic fertilizer, and I rarely go 100%. Usually you kind of failed if you needed to bring the fertilizer that much. So think of it as your kid, your dog, or yourself. You like a little, kind of some food in your belly all the time. So by watering that container, a lot of times in the summer, you have to water a container every day. Well, if every second or third time, maybe twice a week, you watered that with a 20% dose of fertilizer, you're low dosing it, soaking the whole thing, and now that plant has a steady diet where it can grow nice and steady. You don't want to grow, then stop. Then you super fertilize, and it stretches the cells, attracts bugs, everything else. So slow and steady really wins the race. And so low doses, a lot of fertilizers are a tablespoon per gallon. That's 3 teaspoons. So you could use a teaspoon per gallon. You're running at 30% now. And then what you do is start feeding with that once or twice a week, that low dose, and watch your plants. If they start growing too crazy, slow down. If they start looking like all those cool pictures you see on social media, keep it going like you're going.
The tomato jungle every year.
Yeah. And so another thing, you're saying how many plants per, I'd say a 5-gallon bucket's pretty small. You could stuff a couple of, say, those patio ones in there. You could also grow a couple, 2 or 3 plants that you prune down to a single lateral. I've grown in, say, wine barrel size gardens and planted 4 to 6 tomato plants in one unit that big, maybe a grow space that big. And what I do is I do greenhouse technique. I plant them roughly a foot apart, and then I prune all the suckers off, leave the leaves, some of the leaves, and leave the flower trusses. But greenhouse technique is single lateral, where you'll just pinch all the suckers off and you leave some of the leaves and all the flowers on there. So then that one, what would have been, say, one big bushy plant could actually be quarters, fifths, or sixths of a plant. So now in one big container, we used to grow 1 tomato plant, you could grow 4 to 6, and you could quadruple or more the amount of tomato plants you can grow, which that works out really good for a lot of people because they have room for 6 tomato plants and they'd rather grow 20 varieties of tomato plants. So, and plus I sell seeds and plants, so I kind of like this idea too.
Great idea.
But the first time I ever did it, I had a big tomato cage. It was out front, and I planted, it was either 4 or 6 cherry tomatoes in one spot in the ground. And several months later, that thing was about 6 foot tall. It filled the whole cage. It looked like one big, beautiful tomato plant. And I saw my 80-something-year-old neighbor on her hands and knees trying to figure out how there was 6 colors of tomatoes off of one plant or whatever. And so that's kind of what ever since then, I thought, it's a great idea. You can get more in a space, and especially with heirloom varieties, it's all about the varieties. It's all about the different colors, the different flavors, and growing a good diverse amount, because you might get the hottest summer, you might get the coldest summer, you might get this or that with the weather, and different varieties will provide or not provide on different years. So having some diversity in the garden that way definitely helps out.
Katie Boyd says, do you mesh blossom bags to ensure accurate cross-pollinating?
So I do not, but typically, especially in California, tomato flowers very rarely cross in nature. It would actually take, let's see if I got the list. I think it's the stigma is the little pollen receptor, and here's the cone, the pollen producer. I'm drawing a blank. So this is what it looks like in the tomato. It has that little trumpet that comes out. Here's a tomato flower, a little trumpet. So this right here, the stamen, that's where the pollen's produced. The stigma style is usually inside here. It pollinates. Once in a while, you get an exverted stigma. This flower hasn't produced yet, and then you would have to have an insect, usually like a native pollinator, go to another tomato flower, get pollen on its chest, and just happen to go to that one flower that had a rare exverted stigma, and it happened to not be pollinated yet, and you kept seeds from that. So it's really, what's that?
Could that be in Ohio too? Like you said, that was...
Overall, it's rare. They're known as selfers. They almost always self-pollinate. You can emasculate them and purposely pollinate them or whatever. A lot of times what I've done is I will pick, eat, sell whatever, the first cluster or two of tomatoes off the plant and save the rest for whatever reason. Maybe there's more energy or something. Some of the first flower clusters will get that exverted stigma. But without that, with the pollen receptor has to go here and the pollen's here, and it's usually buried inside there. If you can peel it apart, you'll see it. So it's a rare occasion for a natural cross on a tomato. Nice. And so I have to just play the odds game. 99%, I'm guessing, don't get crossed. And if you happen to get a cool cross and it produces something weird but very good, make sure you save seeds. And this is for no matter where you got your seeds, what plant, whatever. If you have a cool plant where there's a cross, a mutation, whatever, you're given that one opportunity in the world to grab some DNA off of that specimen, and then it's gone forever. So you see something cool, unusual, save some seeds from it, grow some next year, whatever. That's what got me so excited actually about gardening. When I was growing some cool varieties, that was fun and cool and exciting. I knew that, but man, when I started crossing tomatoes and watching these crosses develop, oh, it's turning into a heart shape. Oh, it has striping. Oh, it's going to be red when it's ripe. All these different things, kind of like slowly opening a present over 2 or 3 months' time. That's what really, really got me excited about growing and stuff. So,
Katie says, could you use a soft paintbrush to cross-pollinate?
So the general way of cross-pollinating, my basic way, is you emasculate the flower the day before it's receptive. So just to make a funky little hand thing what the flower looks like. That one day when it's like a trumpet, this is your flower. Usually it's already pollinated when it looks like this. The day before that, this won't even really be open up. This is just petals to like attract bugs and stuff. It'll be like a little closed up triangle. So you can look at a cluster of flowers and you'll see bright yellow, and then one's kind of puckered up and almost a little triangle. This is tomorrow or the next day's viable flower. So if you go and tear all this yellow off and leave the little stamens of pollen. You tear the pollen off, leave the stigma style. This has not been pollinated. There'll be a little green tomato back here. That's actually the ovary of the plant. It has not been, it's not even receptive till tomorrow, the next day. So you emasculate it, take away where it's going to be pollinated. You tie a ribbon around it. The next day, you go and get pollen from your male donor. So you have the female here. And what I use is actually, I'd take a pair of sunglasses that were broken or a cheap pair, and I go around and dust a whole bunch of flowers from my male donor. And you actually see all the yellow dust on the glass. Then you just go over actually and dab the little pollen grains on the end of the pollen receptor, the stamen. And so that little act right there, now once the first pollen goes down the little tube, that tomato actually seals off. It is now pollinated. So
That
you
is so good to
sterilize.
know.
What's that?
That is so good to know.
Yeah, so you can sterilize it the day or two before it's receptive, and then it's best to pollinate that 2 days in a row. That way, if it wasn't receptive until the next day, you would still have a chance. So that's a pretty simple act. Sterilize a flower and then go and rub some dust on it. So I'm assuming probably like a little brush. I've never used that. I've used it on peaches and squash and stuff. I'm assuming that would probably work fairly well. And then there's always safety in numbers. If you want 2 crosses, go make 6 or 8 or 10 of them, and that'll ensure your success.
Another question: any recommendations for a short season variety that could possibly be direct seeded in spring?
So there are short varieties. Direct seeding is so hard. You're better off at least grow it in a small container for the first month or 2 of its life, because a tomato seed takes a week to grow up, and then it's not even the smallest snack for a slug or a roly-poly or an earwig or whatever. A lot of times the first month of your plant is only this tall. There's so many things that are going to happen to it. The weeds next to it are this tall. Slugs, earwigs, roly-polies, salbugs, they're all after your little tomato seedlings. So that's why it's way better to plant like a 6 or 8 week plant out in the garden. Also, it makes it kind of hard because a lot of people's plant out day is, say, the first week of May. Well, you're all of May, all of June. Now you have the transplant that you should have stuck in the garden, and it's the end of June already. July is coming tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah.
So at least try to get a 1 or 2 month jump. It can, that would be the best thing. And then if you have bad luck in general, try to go with cherry tomatoes. Usually they're the most dependable, the most early. And after that, usually smaller to medium sized varieties are going to be a little bit earlier, a little bit easier to grow. The big beefsteaks are the hardest. If you screw up once, they can come out mediocre.
Yeah, here in Ohio, we have to 6 weeks before the last frost date. You have to. Otherwise, if we did, we would never get a tomato. I mean, we'd get the plant, but not an actual producing.
Yeah, so that even again, if you planted the seed May 1st instead of the tomato plant's 2 months old and has had 2 months of flower setting, flower producing on it at that time or whatever, instead of it just being a small transplant ready to be put out. And a lot of times in a lot of places, once the first week of July hits, you're done producing and pollinating flowers, at least for a short amount of time. Some varieties are pretty good about producing in the heat, but a lot of them, what we find is you get a big flush, and then if it's really hot, it kind of fries the flowers, and it might happen for a couple weeks, a month or so. Then they might start producing again, depending on the health of your plant.
Now, how about like hornworm control, insect control, and being organic? We only could do so many things. What do you guys do?
Usually, most worms are controlled with BT. That's a bacteria that's organic and only affects worms, caterpillars type things. So as far as I know, that's still the most widely used organic spray. The tomato hornworms or tobacco hornworms, those are a lot more common when I was a kid around here for some reason. My parents used to pay me like 25 cents each, and I would have done it for free because I love throwing them to the chickens. But nowadays, actually, I only see a half dozen or dozen of them. I actually leave them alone just because they make that cool, sphinx moth. But the small, like the cornworms, the little yellow and little green ones, those can be quite destructive. A lot of times it's hard to see the damage until it's too late. But if you live in a place where there's a lot of worms, go with BT. It's a type of bacteria. It's the most widely used organic spray for caterpillar type worms that there is. Soft-bodied bugs in general, we have sometimes dealt with aphids or whiteflies, and I've found there's a lot of different organic sprays, but I've still found that a pyrethrum-based one has the best immediate results. I think they're made out of a chrysanthemum flower or whatever. Not to say that that's not poison or whatever, but it's a pretty good spray. It's a compact spray. You have to soak the bug with it. And as soon as everything's dry, it's gone. That's one of the good and bad, but mostly good things about organic sprays. But I always recommend if you have to spray for a fungus, a pest, anything, spray right as the sun is setting. Soak the plant, top and bottom leaves. Get a good sprayer that at least has the little tilted nozzle so you can get up underneath the leaves and stuff, because with organic sprays, it's all about contact. You soak the plant right as the sun's going down, that moisture is going to stay on the plant for several hours, and that will help because as soon as it's dried, it's kind of gone or whatever. So spraying right in the evening is a good one, and spray till everything's soaking wet.
How about grasshoppers, though? Because we get them from our neighbor's property.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of something like that. Fortunately, I haven't had to deal with them, but you might even have to, if it was really bad or something, a nice like light netting maybe over your plant or something to distract them that way. There's different types of breathable screen cloth type things, and that's good for birds. It's even good for aphids and whiteflies sometimes, depending on the mesh. It would definitely help for if you have problems with grasshoppers and even squirrels.
So, Corky, can you read the last question? Because I think Billy's trying to get me to mumble some words here.
Oh, okay. So it's Wickershire says, any fear of poisonous
glyphosate?
Thank you. As well as any other Well,
that's what's in Roundup or whatever. And if the smallest dose of that hits your tomato plant, you're going to know it, because tomato plants are very susceptible to herbicides. So, yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. I've had that overspray, actually, even from vineyard spray and stuff, and it wasn't pretty. But yeah, tomato plants happen to be very susceptible to herbicides.
Yeah, and you can tell right away.
Which is a problem when people grow around GMO corn and soy and everything, because they're spraying a lot of acreage and that stuff's not staying right where it's at. I've seen reports of it blowing a decent distance away. That's unfortunate. I'm not really sure what you can do.
So how many total variety of tomatoes do you actually have now?
I need to recount them. I think I might be approaching 70, which seems weird because several years ago I thought I had 25 or 30 and I counted there was like 50. So I need to recount. It might be close to 70 now.
The last total I seen was 60. So I'm like,
okay.
Oh, this is added. There's stuff added here and there. I'm like, how much do you have now?
Yeah, it adds up, 3 to 6 varieties per season when things go good. So it's definitely added up. And the tomato bar keeps getting raised higher and higher. It's really been good for the tomato consumers. Look at the quality of tomatoes you're getting now. A lot of times you have to sort through, there's 10 of something, 1 or 2 are good. The bar has been raised so high with tomatoes, the quality of breeding and the demand of what people are wanting. And if it's mediocre, a lot of times it's grown once and nobody heard about it, no pictures were taken, and nobody talks about it the next year. So that really helps raise the bar on the quality. So it's a good time to be a garden grower. And the same thing's happening with potatoes and peppers and all kinds of things. It's unlimited what we can do, small gardeners and farmers, even by crossing and selecting and growing out open pollinated varieties. It's unlimited. So we're going through a whole new revolution now. And it's kind of cool too, because even when a lot of these seeds will have more diverse genetics and they can even acclimate over time, especially if you're selecting the best of the best each year to your environment. That's something an F1 hybrid's never going to do. For one, you don't even grow it the next year. For two, how's it going to acclimate, to maybe your cooler spot, your hotter spot, or anything like that? So I truly believe, as far as being able to feed yourself, your family, your friends, or sustainability, I think open pollinated seeds are where it's at, and the diversity is so much more. I mean,
what you're doing with your tomatoes is really, really popular as well in the hot pepper community.
Yeah, the world is growing and all that, and the way the internet's helping that out. We can glean so much information easily and access to so much different DNA. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So we got one last question in the chat, and I have one, and Corky will probably have 10.
Sorry, my brain goes 100 miles a minute. I'm just, sorry, Joe.
So we're going to go in sex ed right now. How do we differentiate between male and female flowers? That was from Katie.
The tomato flower has both the male and female parts in the same thing. Like I said, you have, if this is my bad thing of a tomato flower, you got the little trumpet sticks out, then you have your little pestils back here. This is the boy, and what's inside, it's a little cone thing that goes back to a green tomato back here. That's the female receptor. The female is actually the little green, the ovary, the unfertilized. If you tear apart a tomato blossom, you'll see a little green dot in there, and that is the ovary of the tomato, the unfertilized female part of it, or just fertilized, depending if what flower you took or whatever. So both the male and female parts are on the same flower.
Yeah,
and for tomatoes.
The bigger ones, like the squashes and stuff, it's so easy to tell the difference. But when you get to tomatoes, that little flower, it's really
So like I said, in general, the wind is what pollinates tomatoes more than not, from everything that I know. And then like squash and cucumbers, melons, they all need to be bee pollinated. And I read things that say up to 100 or 200 bees per day can go and visit a single blossom. They're doing it a little bit different for sure. And then with them, one has just a stem and a flower, and one has, you can see the roundness already starting on it and the flower.
I am so glad that you said that about tomatoes, because there was a tomato that my husband grew last year called Blue Suede Shoes. And I couldn't find that. We didn't save the seeds. We grew so many tomatoes, and we couldn't find the seeds for it. But we did find them this year. So now I know I can just save those seeds. And it'd be really rare if it got cross-pollinated, because we grow so many different varieties. We were scared that it would have just been cross-pollinated anyway.
It's fairly rare. And then insurance on saving seeds is always save seeds from at least 3 tomatoes off your plants. It would be rare that one of them got pollinated, and almost very, very rare that like any more than one of the 3 tomatoes got cross-pollinated. So say if you pick 3 tomatoes, 2 of them weren't cross, that one was a rare one, and it was, at least still 2/3 of your DNA is pure, and you can work that out by growing out a few seeds each year afterwards and finding, at least if it was gone, you could still find your true seeds in there by a little bit of trial and error. You still have a hold of that DNA, that variety, that code that was written that you like.
So Brad, my last question is, I know you want all tomatoes at each setting. I think that's what you said before. You like to have you can't just have one. You got to have them multiple, right? So that answers the salad question when you have a salad. How about a tomato sandwich? What kind of tomatoes are you going to put on a tomato sandwich?
So honestly, I'm kind of the same way. I'll still figure out a way to get at least 3 colors in there, whatever. But I like those nice, dark, rich colors, like the pink tie-dye one that has that richness. And I'm a big fan of a really meaty, like a red-yellow bicolor, like a Lucid Gem or a Beauty King. Those add that beautiful fruitiness that, again, that was like one of the first shocking flavors I ever had of a tomato. I didn't have any idea that it was, I didn't know a tomato was a fruit. I do now. So that dark richness, contrast, a Black Beauty, a pink Berkeley tie-dye type thing against like a Lucid Gem, Beauty King, Blue Gold. So I like that, those 2 together. I could go with one or the other, but those 2 together just make the perfect marriage. And it creates that, tomatoes have it anyways, the umami flavor, what they call, and that is just tries to hit all the different flavors. You have richness, you have sweetness, you have tartness. All those flavors in one is the ultimate package. That's when your mouth doesn't just tingle down here, your tongue kind of feels good. When you eat a good tomato, your whole mouth explodes. It's all your taste buds and sensors are going off, and that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, last one with that though. What kind of mayo, or do you use mayo?
Let's see. I've actually taken a fondness to the avocado mayo lately. I've been trying to get off all the soybean oils and stuff or whatever. So, I mean, I think we have Best Foods here. That was a standard for a while, but I've actually gone with this a avocado-based mayonnaise now, and I'm going with that, and it's actually quite good or whatever. So,
I got to try that.
I'm trying to improve my diet and get off the soybean oil.
Awesome.
All you, Quirky.
I know. No, I don't have any more questions. Like, I just think it's so cool. You're so down to earth. I love your passion for tomatoes. You're just a really awesome guy. Like, thank you so much for being on the show and hanging out with us and everything. And
All right. Well, thanks. It was
your
fun.
passion for tomatoes. It's so interesting. I love it.
Yep. It was a fun journey. I like sharing it. And anything about tomatoes, I'm always wanting to talk about it and share the tomato love with other people.
Well, thank you so much, Brad. This was great. I hope to have you on sometime in the near future because this was awesome. This was great.
Cool.
Very helpful, very insightful. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Have a great.
See you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was great.
That was awesome.
That was great. That was amazing. Absolutely loved it. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I hope you guys can rewatch it. Hope you guys can share that out because there's.
Dude, I had no idea about the tomatoes. That makes me feel so much better. It's less confusing too. You know, I know some things like squash and like some of them you have to pollinate yourself because there's not enough bees. But the tomato thing, that is like awesome. We're going to be saving so many seeds this year because of that little information that I got. So
yeah, we got a lot of good information, got a lot of good feedback in the chat. Really enjoyed it. And welcome, Katie Boyd. It was nice to have you here.
Yeah.
Brad's the man. Got Brad's the man.
Brad's the man.
That was freaking awesome. Was great. Yeah. Thank you, Brad, for an amazing and informative interview. Great having you. That was awesome. Thumbs up. And wow. Yeah, that was great, guys. And I really hope you guys share this out. A lot of people have been watching this after the fact. And this is a can't miss interview. This is something that I always talk about putting things in your pocket. Always put things in your pocket. There's a lot of stuff in that interview you could put in your pocket. And a lot of stuff that you could take out of your pocket like money and go to his website and buy some seeds.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to ask my husband for some money because there's so many, and I love those dark tomatoes. That was my theme anyway this year, is the dark black tomatoes. I love black. I even grow black flowers. I just like it. I think it's so pretty. And to have that and the tomato is so freaking cool. I can't wait. And he has so many of them. So
yeah, and guys, that pork chop tomato is awesome. I have grown it several years, and perfect atomic grape tomato. That plant grows so healthy. If you want to grow a really healthy plant, it might take a little longer for the season. But I tell you what, it's one of the most healthiest plants I've ever had. The percolate tie-dye, boom. I mean, he talked about it. Was one of his favorites, one of his first.
I didn't know he also grew the pineapple one. I didn't know that was his. I grew that before. The blueberry I grew before. Brad's atomic grape. There's like so many, and I didn't know that it was his brand.
And the Black Beauty. I mean, it took. The more you grow it, you grab the best seeds from it.
What kind of black ones are you growing this year, Joe? I'm curious.
I still have to put everything together. I know I'm going to grow around 100 varieties, but I got to put everything together. This kind of changed my mind to buy some other seeds.
Wow.
So just let you guys know, we have memberships now. We have one member, Gil at Camp Patton Family Compound, and Gray Man Preppin was our first member. So thank you, Gil, for becoming our first member. If you become a member, we have 3 memberships. After 1 year, the first membership, you get 6-pack of seeds from Maris Heirloom Seeds or M.I. Gardner. The second tier, you get a trifecta or
Sassy Lass.
Sassy Lass. And our
I'm
last
a horrible accent person, so I attempt, but the Sassy Lass.
There's going to be stuff added to or just given out to you guys in a period of time. So, and the last one, you get a 24-hour hotline plus other stuff. That's all I'm going to say. So it's well worth it. we appreciate your support. We want to make sure we give back to you guys, especially the members will be more highlighted than anybody else. Also, super chats. Super chats. We got the emojis down below, so always use the emojis. So we got 3 right now, and they're growing. There's the boom emoji. Boom! Because that's one of our favorite.
The more members we get, the more emojis we can add on. And what I want to do is put Mary's Heirloom's face and Luke's face in those emojis. That's what I would like to do. We'll see what we can do. But yeah, so I thought that would be great to add them to our collection of emojis. So great.
So Brad by the way, I spelt his name wrong on a thing before. I didn't notice that until at the interview. I'm looking at my thing below, and I don't know why I spelled Brad wrong. And I'm looking, I'm like, it's right now. But I had Brad spelt wrong. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me.
Dude, that's me. And I totally, Jane Doe pointed it out. Sometimes I get to typing and I don't think. My fingers go too fast and I don't think. So thank you for pointing that out, Jane Doe. Appreciate you.
So everything will make sense in this little tape I'm going to show you guys right now. It's by Juliana. We just ran out of time with everything. And because we're on a little bit of a rush, but this is from our Did You Know segment from Juja Jujubi. Here it is. Give this a listen to.
Did you know? Brad Gates edition. Did you know Brad Gates is from California and he is one of the most well-known breeders in the tomato community? Did you know that he creates a bunch of tomatoes that vary in color, size, and taste? Did you know that because he is based in California, most of his varieties tend to be much more heat tolerant than others? Did you know that Brad is the proprietor of Wild Boar Farms? Did you know that all of Brad Gates' tomatoes are grown using fully organic growing techniques and are absolutely not GMO? Wild Boar Farms are true believers in using organic and sustainable practices. Did you know that tomatoes have changed more in the last 10 years than they have in their entire existence? Do you know that Brad likes to focus on breeding exotic-looking new tomatoes with extreme flavors, all the while using classic heirlooms as a base? Did you know that Brad has created over 60 new tomatoes in the last 20 years? Get your pen and paper ready. Did you know that when Brad was asked what his favorite tomatoes would be if he could only grow 10 plants, what his answer was? He said Barry's Crazy Cherry, Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye, Pork Chop, Lucid Gem, Blue Beauty, Black and Brown Boar, Summer of Love, Solar Flare, Crushed Heart, and Cosmic Eclipse. That's right. Those are his favorites. I hope you wrote them down. Did you know that Brad said blue tomatoes store well after being harvested? He said one year he had 8 ripe ones that were still good 1 month on the counter with little to no degradation in flavor or texture, but best remain eaten within 2 weeks of picking. Thanks to the anthocyanin in the tomato for that wonderful trait. Did you know that Brad's personal favorite, or so I've read, is the Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye? The Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye is rich, tangy, rosy, sweet swirls of umami taste and rich flavor. And lastly, as I close out today's segment, I think Brad said it best. Remember that you vote with your purchase. If you like farmers markets, be sure to shop there. If you like amazing tomatoes, be sure to support those providing amazing tomatoes. If you like having local produce, be sure to seek out your local farmer and support them. Thanks, Brad. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you?
I love
Did you
that.
know?
That was great. Thank you, Jujubee.
That was well done. And good luck with your daughter with their teeth. That's something else. You know, nothing like a child going to the dentist and it's like, okay, we got to do something else. Happens to all of us, doesn't it? Anyway, that was amazing live. Totally awesome. And Juliana, you're awesome for doing that for us. I just couldn't figure out because originally we were going to do an hour, and we did an hour and a half. And I'm like, I got to put Juliana's segment in here. I got to put Juliana's segment. It's too good. I got to put Julie, but where? So that was pretty cool. That's right. It's the Marshmallow Man. Boom!
Boom! Marshmallow Man. Boom! Love you, Lewis.
Yeah. So for tomato varieties, I'm probably growing around 100. If I could have the time to get my fence up in my yard, and for animal control, and to get over my brothers, there'll be a lot more varieties than that. Probably closer to 300. So, but no
This
cavity, but needs a tooth.
Changes maybe what I'm going to grow this year, to be quite honest.
It all starts with the credit card.
Changes everything.
See, no matter what, I'm starting with Mary's Heirloom Seeds and My Gardener. And did you know you get a 10% discount at My Gardener for using the word #GrowBig? Mm-hmm. And if you spend $18, you get free shipping. And did you know? At Mary's Heirloom Seeds, if you spend $20, you get free shipping. And if you use the word grow big, you get 10% off there too.
You have to use the link, the Mary's Heirloom link that we provide. Then you can get your 10%.
So I hope you guys been using that, and that really helps us out tremendously. Let's see. Any other questions? And thank you, Billy, for asking that nice question that we couldn't pronounce. I looked at that. I said, I give up. I felt like I was in college again. I'm looking at the professor like, I can't say any word you're saying.
Yeah, I think he was trying to choke us up there.
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
Dave proves having solar power backup essential to make it grow big TV.
Yeah, if you My Gardener has a wide variety of different. He put in a ton of new seeds on his birthday. So if you go in, you're going to see new seeds, and you can still use #GrowBig. Sorry, I got hiccups, to get your 10%.
And that's awesome. Jersey Twister did 14 different tomatoes last year.
Yeah, we did I don't even know how many. And now that I know that we can save these seeds, I'm definitely going to do that. It's going to be awesome. I might even share them with you guys. Who knows?
In Jersey Twister, if everything goes right, I might be selling those in front of my house, by the way. A lot of varieties, I'm trying to tell you with a little wink, wink. A lot better than other places with good soil. Let's see. Seed swaps. We plan to do some kind of seed swap, but we might be a little too busy to have something that we could really do well here. It just might be a little more in the fall.
Oh, okay.
Just because of organizing these lives and doing research on our guests, it takes some time right now. And we got to get all our videos set and contest. The contest, it's not as easy as, okay, let's do a contest, yell it out. There's a lot of paperwork you have to do. So, and that paperwork is not as easy. And also by Tuesday, we'll have a word if we're going to do the hot dog eating contest. There's only 2 people that signed up. If more people don't sign up by Tuesday, we're just going to cancel it. Also, we have some great interviews next week. Awesome.
Can't wait.
So I guess we could talk about next week already. But first, Tuesday, we have Tony O'Neill. And if you ever looked up Tony O'Neill, he's very well known in the UK. And, oh my God, I just had a brain fart what his name is for the channels. I can't believe I just had a brain fart. Simplicity. Oh my God. Anyway, it's a boom. It's a boom, boom for Tuesday's interview.
Boom, boom.
Oh my God, now I got to look it up. I can't believe I just had a brain fart. Thursday is going to be Jimmy Pickles. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in the hot pepper world.
Simplify, is it Simplify Gardening?
That's it. Yep. So very popular channel in the UK, and that's going to be awesome. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the last 2 years in Jimmy Pickles' world. And a lot of that has to do, well, he wasn't there in the last year, I say. Actually, the last several years he's been filming. But, yeah, a lot of stuff in his world's turned upside down. But this movie he just put out, it's really good. So we're going to talk a lot about that. And just by the way, his pepper, JP Piranha, is hotter than, it got tested and is hotter than the Carolina Reaper.
Yeah.
So he would actually have the hottest pepper in the world. But Ed Curry got his tested a couple weeks ago, and he has the hottest pepper in the world. But then, see, there's so much drama in the pepper world.
There is drama in the pepper world. It's hard to keep up with it. It's like.
And then you got Primo. What is it, J Primo? I forgot. Primo Peppers Primo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he got his tested, and his is hotter than all three.
Mm-hmm.
But not as hot as Pepper X from Ed Curry. So there's a lot of little drama going on in the world about peppers. Who has the hottest? So, and that's what exactly JP Piranha from Jimmy Pickles.
Yep. I can't wait to have Jimmy Pickles on. He's a really nice guy.
So 54 Cal says, any place to donate extra seeds? I have a bunch of Burpee 2023 seeds. If you want to send them to me and I could send them out with each prize we give out, we could do that. You could do that if you want, or just give them out to whoever you want on a site. You could do whatever you want, 54 Cal. And it's welcome to the channel. Nice to see you. You know, maybe we should do a giveaway.
If you want. It'd be a surprise.
You'll be surprised. I wasn't expecting doing this today. Let me get a little organized here. You know what? I got stuff flying around here. Let's see. Mary's Heirloom Seeds.
Woohoo!
Let me see what we could do. I want to make sure. I got to make sure it's not too thick, because if I do it in the mail, it requires different postage. Postage went up again, by the way.
Oh.
So you're gonna get a package, and I hope you're surprised by it. So I'm just gonna give out one of these. You guys, I don't want any kind of picking because it gets too complicated right now. But one of the tomatoes I'm going to give out is this tomato. It's awesome tomato.
So pronounce that one, Joe.
Blonde, yeah, blonde coefficient, yeah, okay. And she has a twin. Okay, I'm going to also give this tomato away. The Hillbilly Flame Tomato. And the cayenne pepper.
Ooh, yes. I love cayenne pepper. It is such a good flavor. Even though it's hot, it's one of those things like you can't stop eating, even though it's hot. It's so delicious.
We're going to give it early purple sprouting broccoli.
Ooh, I planted that before. Cool.
So that's 4. This is number 5. He-chi-ko bunching onion. He-chi-ko bunching onion.
Say that 3 times fast.
He-chi-ko bunching onion. He-chi-ko bunching onion. Say that better. Hi-ya. Okay, one last one. Oh, look, I got a burpee seed in here. Where did that come from? We'll give the Armenian cucumber.
Every year I have a hard time growing that. Every year.
I do too, actually.
I don't understand it. And I love cucumbers. I love them, and I want to eat that one.
So all you have to do is, if your name gets called, just give me your address. Don't give me which vegetable you're going to get, which seed you're going to get. Just tell me, give me your address. Even if you won 20 times, just give me your address. Just because it's easier, right?
Yep.
And I really hope you guys become members. It's just like on, I know, Garden State Gardener. We give out a lot. And Sunday Fun Days back in that channel. And we're also, Courtney and I are going to work on a special live where we're going to show both of ours. It's not going to be on Grow Big TV. It's going to be on Wide Family Farm and Garden State Gardener. Another live, which is going to be very interesting. And we'll tell you more about that at another time because it's a secret. And it's very secretive conversation that, well, you guys will learn about that later. I want your mind to go over the place right now. I can't give it out until it really happens. Because I'm going to be in space. Total space. And I know you have no idea what I'm talking about. That's what makes Corky laugh right now. Okay, I'm just putting I wasn't expecting this. I didn't have it up, guys. So just give me a couple seconds. Awesome.
I like eggplant. It's good. However, it's not something I want to grow like a whole, unless you really love eggplant. It's not something I want to grow a whole bed of. I want to grow like one or two. And then, does King Poobah know about you two having secrets? Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, and Jersey Twister, do you have secrets?
I've been looking at the solar flare tomato too long.
Yeah, and Kalen's right. Oh, I've been looking at that solar flare tomato way too long. Do you guys like my sexy voice? These tomatoes are making me fall in love all over again.
I just love your tie-dye colors and your green stem. Fancy seeing you here.
I just like growing my tomato fun.
I would love to see you sandwiched between two pieces of bread.
You got to snort. And,
oh my god! Oh, that's the first time I think I've done that on here.
And I want a blondie tomato. I want this blonde. I can't pronounce her name, and she has a twin. What did Billy say? Because I know Billy was going to get in this conversation. Yeah, but stop calling me at 3 in the morning, Joe. It was fun for the first 50 times. I'm a drunk caller. I go through my phone book and call Billy. You got to see what Billy wears.
How many tomatoes I've had tonight, Billy?
Hey, Billy, I've been drinking in California at the Tomato Wine Forest. I created a special wine. Oh, my God. Okay. Here we go. The contest is on. The giveaway tool.
Just love when you slap that Miracle Whip right on that piece of bread.
What kind of mayo do you have?
Excuse me, I know it's 3 a.m., but what kind of mayo do you have?
Is it Mike's or is it Hellman's? Hashtag Billy. Hashtag Billy. So, and Brad just said, he just texted me, he goes, had a great time talking with you guys. So we had a definitely great time talking with
He's
him.
so great. He's a really great person. It's the
Isn't
first
he?
time I ever talked to him, and I just got that vibe from him that he's so like down to earth. He's so cool. He's just cool. Love it.
You know what's interesting? It's hashtag Billy, guys. I really wanted to go more thoroughly into each conversation, but each one I had all these questions to ask him, but it was all jumping around. It was like, how do I not jump around when it was all jumped around?
I tried to stick with it. I tried.
Yeah.
But
It was really so much information. He compacted all that information. And it was like, oh man. Hashtag Billy.
Good old Billy. We love you, Billy.
Okay, here we go. First draw. First winner.
Ooh.
Wanda Moses.
Congratulations, Wanda Moses. We
So
love you.
All these are 2024 seeds from Mary's. So this is, and Mary couldn't have been better to us, guys. I hope you guys go to her Facebook page, leave comments, say, hey, we saw you at Garden State Gardener. What an amazing woman in so many ways. Corky's been talking with Mary for years. Corky actually, she talked, let me see, when did you, it was like 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, you interviewed her?
YouTube interviews.
So,
I love her. She's such a great person.
And I've known her since the very, very, very beginning. So, what a great partnership we have with Mary and Luke. I mean, wow! And we almost had somebody else. I'm very happy that we didn't.
Yeah, me too.
To tell you the truth. Okay, next draw. David Gray.
David Gray! Yay! We love you, David Gray! The crowd goes wild. Boom!
Our third winner. God's Desire for Me. So, God's Desire for Me, and met her today.
Congratulations with seeds, yeah.
So it was nice meeting you and searching you out and looking at your site and everything. It's pretty cool. Here we go.
We love you, David Gray.
3 more winners, guys. 3 more winners. Becoming a green stalker.
We love you becoming a green stalker. Congratulations. Hello, Howie. I see you.
Hi, Howie. Next one. So who is it going to be? Mary's Heirloom Seeds winner. Jersey Twister.
Yay!
You got to see all the mail I put in. I gave to the post office this morning. Actually, it's a lot of mail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why another thing with the memberships, it really helps with postage, with us sending, stuff out.
Ginger Ninja.
Oh my gosh. Did you know that Ginger Ninja is my #1 fan? Did you know?
Did you know?
GGB, you have to do a did you know on Ginger Ninja. Did you know?
That is amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jane Doe. The only thing I got to work on is I have something going to Jane Doe, and I still have to get the prize that I'm sending to Jane, and working on it, Jane. Once I get it, you're getting it. So it's going to be there for you, and appreciate everything you do. Wow, there's 45 people in the chat all of a sudden. Where did that come from?
Oh, 45.
It was like just like boom. Prepper 101 is here. And guys, when we start these lives, we want to say hi to every single person, but it's very hard to do.
It's very hard to do. We try.
And it was one of the things Corky and I talked about. We got to say hi to every single person in the chat, because if you don't say hi, they're going to leave. But then you have the interview starting, and they have no idea who you are. They barely know us. So they're looking at a watch. I wonder how long this is going to last. 30 minutes, 40 minutes. No, we're going to be on for 2 hours. You know, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. So when we have these interviews, where we're very lucky to have basically all of them, we need to get down to the information. We want to get them involved. We want them to see you in a chat involved, all happy and, you know, all into it. Because when everybody's around to that subject and all pumped up and excited, it makes it a fun interview.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you guys know we appreciate you guys for everything you do to support us. We're not here to say, oh, who care? We don't care about them. We just don't have the time. We can't do both. So when to do that, I don't know. We'll figure out something. Maybe we'll have something on a bottom screen for members or something like that.
Yeah.
Scroll across.
Another thing too is when we get a lot of members, we're going to have members lives. So we can actually interact with you guys. And that is across the board with all of our memberships. So when we do members only, we'll be able to chat with you with everybody, have that personal connection that we really want. It's just hard when we have guests because they don't quite sometimes people don't even have YouTube and they don't get it. So
yeah, I mean, that's the main thing, guys. We really got to get to these interviews. Like when we have Jimmy Pickles on, that's a no hold bars interview. That could be a little different. Jimmy wants to get involved with the chat. He wants to talk to you guys. He's gonna want to sell every single seed pack he has.
The pickles.
The pickles.
The pickles. Oh my gosh, I love him. It's great. This is gonna be so fun. It's gonna be fun.
That's for Thursday. Just Tuesday's a very special life too. And again, people are in a chat. More people like that will be here. We have not many people in a chat. We seem like we're not important. So, and you guys make us feel important. So you guys are awesome. And I can't believe I got to go back to the post office again. Yeah.
Also, are you guys aware that we have a watermelon radish challenge going on? So check over on our video, watch the video, look at the rules in the description when it starts. But that is our first challenge of the year, is that watermelon radish, which I'm excited to grow because with all the reading I have been doing, I now realize that those toppers can be used as a pesticide. So guess who's going to use them? Me. Can't wait.
And you know what's great about the way we're doing this? You got to do those 3 videos. It's all about you teaching us what you do to grow those radishes. So it's almost like, hey, there's a contest, but I'm teaching. This is what I'm going to do. So other people can watch your video so they can help your channel and expand your channel out.
No one is an exact master at this stuff. No one is perfect. I just learned something that I never knew tonight from Brad. So everyone learns from each other. So the more people we have in the competition, the more people we learn from, because everybody does something different. So yeah, the top part of the radish can be used as a pesticide. I mean, of course you can eat it, but I'm going to use it as a pesticide and spray it on my plants because apparently the watermelon radish is very spicy.
Yeah, so when you guys have the radish, we got to cut off that top right at the base. But if it splits a little bit, it has like a little dark thing going across, we can't count it. That's the hard problem. That's the problem about growing the big radish, which you got to weigh. So it's pretty cool. I want to go. Corky, do you have a little bit of time?
Yeah, I got time.
Guys, I want to go to their site. I want to go to Brad's site again, and I want to see what you guys think. We have 39, 40, 42 people on here.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Brad's site and go check out
Do I need to grab a beer?
Go grab a beer.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, thank you, Gil. Hello, Erica. This is the first time seeing you in here. Thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you so much, Gil. Oh, Erica, so good to see you. Erica, hopefully that information we shared yesterday was beneficial to him. There was somebody on her site, and his blood pressure was skyrocketed like you wouldn't believe. He doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to have surgery. And so everybody was trying to help him out in some kind of way. And I went on her live for a little bit and told her to talk about Dr. Eselton and stuff like that. So that's pretty awesome. So guys, if you want, since this is our first time to gift memberships on our site, you got to go to the gift and right-hand click on that, I believe, and allow memberships. So if somebody gifts a membership like Gil just did, you could collect that membership. See if that works. I have no idea if it does or not. But if you hit that green thing, it says one gift, and it say allow memberships to your site, you should be able to get a membership if somebody gifts it.
Oh, somebody says Ginger Ninja said hers is on. Oh, it was my chaotic gardening who got it.
Oh, congratulations!
Congratulations! It didn't say anything.
I didn't see anything either. That's what I was confused. I'm like, wow, I don't know. I have to 1 second.
Yay, thank you for being a member. This is great. I'm so excited.
Just give me a couple seconds, guys, because I have to load it back up because I deleted it during the Wild Boar Farms. Yeah, this would be good to talk about with you guys. I'm not going to be able to see the chat when I put this up, so Corky get it. Oh, there we go. We got the boom, boom, boom.
The boom,
boom, boom, boom.
The boomity boom.
Okay.
Okay, what am I doing? What am I looking for? What?
Any kind of questions in the chat? I'm not going to be able to really say. So, let's see what he says about growing guides. Coming soon. Plant sales. I'm not going to. Tomato events. This will be only California, though. But he said calendar's coming soon. So, more or less, his whole site is on seeds, guys. Tomato seeds. So, AAA Sweet Solano. Let's see what that's about. Oh, I guess I got to put my glasses on. So it's a small tomato, 2 to 4 ounce fruit. Plants are pure, beauty discovered in a yellow boar, which is a yellow stripe. Very attractive yellow and green stripes turning deep orange color with gold stripes. So that's that there. See, so that's the orange color. So very attractive yellow and green stripes. So the green stripes turn a deep orange color with gold stripes. So green to gold. Some hang time ability, stays firm, very sweet with a hint of tropical fruit. I tell you guys, when you grow these kind of tomatoes to have the fruity taste and you put them in a salsa, wow, what a difference.
That with like a little pineapple, maybe some corn, make a really good salsa. Maybe throw in some mangoes. Boom.
You're getting sexy again.
Oh, I just love when I mix my tomatoes with pineapple.
Oh, man. We're going to talk about my afternoon delight. What happens during the afternoon delight? What is the mix? What is the combo? It's large and very meaty. red and yellow bicolor beefsteak with purple. and
Thanks,
cinnamon.
Gray Man. Thanks, Gil. Appreciate it.
Oh, so much. Thank you so much, Gil.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gil. We appreciate it. Into and splashes of the sun-kissed fruits in this mild afternoon.
I just love when my tomatoes are kissed.
And there's an accidental cross between a big rainbow and an unknown and design. Line 5 years ago, large, beautiful, solid, and meaty. Do you guys see that? A large, beautiful, solid, and meaty. Good ability to hang.
Now we're making Riverdale Gardens blush.
It's a good ability to hang and it maintains the flavor and texture. And stores well post-harvest. Definite delight. Wow, look at that. That's beautiful.
30 Shades of Maters. That was good. That was good.
Make that the 60 Shades.
I don't know. Maybe we could turn that into a segment.
Oh, that's too funny. That sounds good. That sounds like a great segment. Now we're talking about the cream tomato, the cream of the crop. Look at this one. Look, it looks like has a happy face right in it.
Yeah.
And it's juicy. Look how juicy that is. Oh my God. A lot of crosses.
We love you becoming a green stalker. I'm sorry that your daughter is listening to I don't know what you would call it.
And Erica takes 2. Katie wants to know, how do we find a subscription thingy?
For?
I guess memberships.
Oh. For memberships or for the watermelon radish thing?
And like Juliana says, this is tomato schmut.
Yes.
And she's sorry she cannot narrow it down to 60 guys.
Jujubee, would you be interested in doing a tomato smut segment?
And Wanda says she loves the variety of shades. Yeah, so Katie said memberships.
Oh,
so you got to hit the money signal, and that should be go to membership, I think.
Yep.
So, guys, this is a really good tomato. I heard a lot of good things about this cross here, actually. But you know what I get wonder though, when it gets this kind of juicy, man, it makes for a messy T-shirt. I have a feeling that would go right in somebody's eye. And
Aw, Ginger Ninja, thank you so much. We love you guys. Thank you. Thank you for support. You're not just supporting this channel. We've known you guys forever. So you're supporting us in general. So I really, really appreciate that. Thank you guys for being here. You guys are great friends. And we really, really appreciate it.
so this is an interesting cross with this tomato too.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Let me 1 second. Let me get out for a second. So I want to find out why the membership. Actually, I don't have it. I need to do it on my phone, I guess. Let me see if I hit the.
Hold on.
Okay, when she hits the money symbol, the only thing that comes up is super stickers and super chat from me.
No, I was gonna say Gil got to be a member. So how did he do it? No, okay, hold on. I'm gonna share this. Okay, share. Wait, present. That's what it says. Share screen. Share screen. I want this right here. Okay, so if you go to this, see right down here where it says join. It says join.
I'm right there. That's right.
You can click on that. It's right below. It's right by the description. And it say join, and you hit join, and it will pop that up. And if I hit that, what does it will do? Oh, okay, yeah. I can't join my own channel. So that's how you do it. should work for you.
But what's happening is she's probably on her phone.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm trying to find it on my phone.
Hold on. There is a link to join, and give me a second and I'll get that link for you.
And guys, don't forget to hit that like button. We appreciate every all of them there. Okay. Let me go back to tomatoes when Quirky. Oh, you're fine. Go ahead, find it. Go ahead. Callan says, if you are watching on a web browser, the join button's on the bottom subscribe button. That's what Quirky just said. Katie says she's on her iPad, and checked it on my phone. It's the same thing.
All right. Where is it?
Mike's old tablet says there's a tab for join on my phone.
And it's kind of acting weird tonight, guys. So
Jane Doe says when you close the chat, you will see the join button. Okay, so if I close the chat,
here's the link to join if you have a phone. Page right here. Boom. I got it in there. That should help. You click on that and it'll take you to join.
It's good to see you, Ted. Thank you guys for all this help.
Yeah, thank you.
And Katie, if you watched one of the other videos, you might be able to join up from under there too. So, okay, let's get back to the tomatoes. I mean, that's a great tomato. Let's choose another tomato. If there's any tomatoes you guys want to look at or you want to buy, just let us know. Again, the Berry's Crazy Cherry is so prolific, guys. Healthy looking plant. But they have these little points at the end. You notice these points?
Yeah.
It is very pointy, like the little hard nipples on them.
Are you saying this Berry's Crazy Cherry has a nipple?
It has a little pointy nipple. Didn't want to poke your eye out, kid. Huge clusters of pale yellow, oval-shaped cherry tomatoes. Very good, sweet flavor, huge harvest potential. Definitely huge. It comes from the largest cherry tomato clusters I have seen, without a doubt, 100%.
Get tiny bras, says Mike's Chaotic Gardening.
Oh, teardrop. Yes, teardrop.
Oh, I'm glad you said teardrop. I thought you were going to say nipples again.
Got a lot of stuff in my mind. Atomic Sunset.
Oh my God.
The thing is when you... Yeah, it's a bit cold some places too. I got you, Ginger Ninja.
Does the nipple only form when it's cold out? Do all tomatoes have a nipple? Now I'm confused.
Well, don't worry. I sent Juliana some nipple tomatoes last year. she grew them next to the Peter Pepper.
Oh, wow.
So what's interesting about this is the color, because it's not... The color inside's amazing, but the color outside might not be what you think. It does look like this, like the one over here I'm put the pointer to. So when you look at it, it might not be the most appetizing for some, but the taste is amazing. Okay. The Atomic Fusion. I'm going to buy this one, I can tell you that. That just looks absolutely...
Yeah.
Atomic. It's a larger version of the Brad's Atomic Grape. So I wonder if I guess they're going to take a long time. So if you have a long growing season, this might be a great tomato for you to grow.
I'm glad we're making you laugh, guys, because literally, like, this is just who we are. This is Yes, we are. We're goofy. I would do that and call them Adam and Eve.
Oh, we can have the Adam and Eve selection.
Add a little tomato leaf in there somewhere. Cover up.
The beauty can. Look at that. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Very good production, too. That's what, and very meaty.
Katie Boy said she found her people.
Boom!
Oh.
Hey, Katie, where you from? So this is a cross between a big rainbow and a green zebra. Interesting.
I wish I liked tomatoes. I mean, now, okay, I could try one of these and it might be the tomato of my dreams. It might be what I want. For me, what catches my eye is all the black ones. Like that black beauty with the red in the inside. Like, I think that is gorgeous. Now, I don't know if I'll like it. I have never tried it. I'm going to try it. I have Black Beauty this year. So, but I don't know. I don't know if I like it. There hasn't been a tomato yet that I like. Now, Luke said I would like the champagne or whatever. So I got that this year. We're going to grow it. See if I like it. We'll see.
Blonde boar. To me, that the light yellow with the light green, it's amazing when a tomato looks really good, like the Black Beauty inside. And then you look at the blonde boar. You know, I never met a blonde that was a boar. There we go. Blood Moon. That's interesting. Let me click on it.
I'll have to try it, Wanda. I've tried cherry tomatoes. I've tried pretty much every tomato in my garden I've tried. I just am not impressed. And I definitely don't like a tomato on a sandwich. I do not like that gooey whatever. What Brad was talking about is totally relatable. Whatever that slimy was on the sandwich type thing, that's not me. I can't do it.
So the Blue Moon is a cross between pink Berkeley tie-dye and Blue Beauty. Interesting. I do love the red, deep red in the center of a tomato. Absolutely love that. Now, what I noticed with the blueberries and blue gold, they split easy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have noticed that.
And with the blueberries, I didn't think they were blue very long.
No.
Or they didn't, I don't know. We grew those like the second year that we had a garden.
Candy Sweet Icicle. Canary Cress. Cherokee Rose. That's interesting. What is that a cross of?
Has to be Cherokee Purple and something.
Yep. It's a unique variation of Renault Cherokee Purple.
Cool. My husband likes the Cherokee Purple because he doesn't like the core of a tomato. He thinks it's gross. So usually Cherokee Purples don't have that nasty core in the center. That's why he likes them.
Now, I never knew Cosluto Genovese.
I didn't know that was his, and we grew that last year. I didn't know that was his tomato. We didn't eat a lot of them. They're weird. They're a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I have never. That was definitely not one of my favorites. You know what it is? It's not. It doesn't slice great for a sandwich because it's all kind of different shapes. You know, it's little. Now, if you cut it up, that's a different story.
Dark Queen. That looks pretty.
Dark Queen. That's what kind of mix is that? Oh, look at that. Let's look a little different than another picture. Late season, very rich and meaty.
Yeah, Ginger Ninja Cherokee Purple is my husband's favorite. Love the Constolato Genovese. So good at a productive tomato. Cool.
So it's a great tomato for Juliana. And Katie's from California, by the way.
Oh. Thanks for coming in. hanging out with us crazy folks.
Yeah, this is great. We met somebody else. Woohoo! Deborah Richardson's here. That's nice to meet you. I'm all lost for words now.
I did post. I didn't know if they would let me, but the tomato group that Mrs. Tomato had created, I posted us in there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I said delete if it's not allowed. So they allowed it. And so we might be getting a lot of tomato people from there.
Cool. Nora, the Stock Explorer, is here.
What's up?
And thank you, Deborah Richardson. Thank you for always being for me and following me around. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the support wherever I am. Thank you.
Yeah, I wish most websites had reviews too. I'm just curious. I like that about Baker Creek and stuff because you can look on there and see, and it's really honest because some people will be like, "Oh, this is horrible. It didn't work for me," and you get an honest review. Goldberries.
Now, I have grown this, and I actually liked it. Maybe it's something with me with the yellow tomatoes with the mix.
Yeah. Well, they have less. Aren't they supposed to have less acid in them? They're supposed to anyway.
Mm-hmm. So. It's a crowd pleaser. Boom! Green zebra.
Wait a minute. Does it have nipples?
Which one? Not the goldberry.
Well, you said it was a crowd pleaser.
Yeah, it's true. Well, that'd be more like the tomato fun. And you know what? Since we're here, I'll show everybody what the tomato fun is. Since you guys get to see this tomato. It's Juliana's favorite. This tomato has short, fun shape and size. It's definitely a crowd pleaser. I'm just, oh, come on, there it is. Wait till you see the size of this cigar-like tomato. Definitely.
Deborah Richardson's here. Hello, Deborah Richardson. Thank you for coming in. Deborah Richardson.
So, this is for 60 Shades of Tomato. This is called Tomato Fun. Oh, whoops. There it is. Did it pop up? Not there. Pop up again. Nope, it didn't show.
Nope.
Bummer. Hold on, guys. Sorry for the interruption.
Oh, Lord.
I know I'm not stalling. Here it is. Ready? Pop right up, just like that. The tomato fun. This is a Bill Clinton cigar tomato.
Is that for real? Is it actually say that?
No. This is for Bill Clinton. This is Bill Clinton's type of tomato. That's tomato fun.
That is disgusting looking. Is that really Juliana's favorite tomato?
No.
Oh, I was like, what is wrong with you, girl?
I can't grow that big of a tomato, just like out there all day. Just hanging. But I am growing across. And it's going to be, I want it to be a bigger version of the tomato fun. I'm growing, I'm going to start this year. It's called the goat bag tomato and crossing it with the cow stick tomato. That's going to be, I'm going to try that cross and see if I could do that. And it's
my mind has totally went in the gutter. I think totally different of Jujube now.
No, Julianne is the best.
Just
Juliana was, that's not her favorite tomato. I don't want to talk to Juliana anymore. I'm the complete opposite.
But he
anyway.
did not have relations with that tomato.
Caitlin wants me to have a pierogi tomato. Oh, so here's the story, guys. You want to know about Juliana. I took painkillers after surgery, planted all of Joe's naughty. So what I did is I had a seat in a month club, and I had a naughty club month. I had a kids version and I had an adult version. So my kids version was like Mickey Mouse tomato, Snow White tomato, kids grown tomatoes. Then I had the adult versions, and they're all one had a nipple, one had this. And so Juliana said, I took painkillers after surgery, planted all Joe's naughty pepper and tomatoes. And I didn't know until 3 months later. I was like, Joe, what the heck? Right in her front yard, right for the mailman to take a look. And then she bought both packs. It was just the wrong pack to buy. Wrong pack.
The mailman takes a look like, that resembles a... What are you growing, lady?
Both on a Rock Homestead. Take care. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, Gargamel was the other tomato for the kids version. Might grow some carrots grow in naughty shapes too. Yeah, but usually their legs are crossed. Okay, go back to Wild Boar Farms for a couple seconds. 37 people in the chat. You guys are awesome. We're going to stay a little bit. We'll go through this, and we're going to end it at night. Is there any tomatoes you guys want me to go over? Lovely Lush, Lover's Lunch, Lucid Gem, Lush Queen. What's a Lush Queen? It's a good production, striped pink beefsteak. It sells very well at the farmer's market. Interesting. Oh, Ginger Ninja. Joe trying to grow a corn star tomato. Hey, we all know what happens when you eat corn, too. Napa Chardonnay. I highly recommend you guys growing it. Napa Giant. Interesting.
Ooh, interesting. Very interesting.
It was very interesting when he was talking about crosses, and some things didn't think it was going to turn out right, but he saved the seed and tasted it, and all of a sudden it kind of worked out great for him. Norwood Miners. What is that? Well, I probably would like that.
That's as big as what Blue Suede Shoes was. It was like that little round.
So where did you find Blue Suede Shoes? The last time I had them, I bought them at Ukraine.
Somebody gave them to me.
Oh, awesome. Painted lady.
And I had no idea that they came from the Ukraine. Because,
we had Ukraine, and we had the other lady that buy seeds. I'm trying to think of the name. All of a sudden, just had a brain fart. Oh my God, I just can't remember her site. Never mind. Okay, pink Berkeley tie-dye. Here's the pineapple pig.
I've had a pineapple before, and it to me, it was so acidic, and it burnt my lips even. So I didn't know. Like, I don't think it was his. I think it was just called pineapple. It wasn't pineapple pig.
Rick, I don't live anywhere near Quirky. She lives in Ohio. I live near the Jersey Shore. We live about 8 hours away from each other. So, pineapple pig, which is interesting. I wish you had the dates here when it came out. Large, meaty, creamy yellow. Large, meaty, creamy yellow stripe bicolor with rose blush lower acid. Sweet, huge, late, and worth
creamy and huge.
And worth the wait.
Ooh.
Huge.
The best thing that you ever put in your mouth.
And wait till I can't wait to watch people when we watch this. You're going to let it go on 24 hours. They're going to go to sleep to it.
And they're going to wake up to 50 Shades of Tomato.
Oh my god! Wait till Brad. He asked me to send this to him. Wait till he listens to the rest of this.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Pink Brandywine. Pink Boar. That's a very interesting tomato right here. You know, let me click on 100 pack.
Oh, look at that one that has the black spots in it underneath. That was pretty.
Let me get back to that in a second. Interesting. The Red Beauty?
Red Beauty. Yeah, I've never seen. That's beautiful. I think he did talk about that a little bit, but that's really pretty. Look at that. It has no core.
Yeah, the inside's amazing.
Yeah.
It does make a big difference when you're making sandwiches, I think. Awesome.
All the varieties before we grow. Yeah, I know. Joe went to a festival, I think last year.
Yep.
Tomato festival where he could taste some of the tomatoes.
Oh, next year I could bring this could be great. So the tomato lady that we were talking about before, she lives in all the way in North Jersey by Phillipsburg, where Becoming a Green Stalker is. Maybe I could take up the Jersey Twister from Ohio. We'd go all the way up north to meet everybody and have those 50 tomatoes. That sounds like a plan.
Yeah, it
That
does.
sounds fun. So Solar Flare is definitely one of my favorite tomatoes, guys. That's this one right here. Love the taste of this. Now, it's very interesting. What Brad said is, hey, if you just had red tomatoes all your life, try one of these. And then you'll fall in more kind of tomato love. Very interesting. Lauren, yes, Becoming a Green Stalker, Lauren. So maybe we could all meet together. And near Phillipsburg, there's a huge festival by Nova. Becoming a Green Stalker, Lauren, yes. Summer of Love. Summer of Love. This improved Berkeley tie-dye. This is an improved version, guys.
That's interesting.
For him to say it in his notes, I definitely got to buy that now. Sweet Tooth. Sweet Cream. Ooh, anybody wants some sweet cream seeds? Creamy yellow with stripes that blush red when extra ripe. One of the sweetest, fruitiest tomatoes I have eaten. Excellent ability to hang ripe on a vine for extended periods. Good crack resistance. Oh, Sweet Tooth. I got to get the wine jug. For some reason, I feel that's going to grow great here.
Yeah. It looks like a wine jug. I like that.
Trenton's Tigers, after his kid's name is Trenton. Learn something there. Yellow Fairy Boar and Yellow Radiance. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Meaty Maters. Great common Green Stalkers laughing her butt off, so it's Riverdale onions. So that was our second screening of 60 Shades of Maters. The healthy Maters. Well, guys, thank you for sticking with us. We appreciate it. And thank you for the memberships and everything else. You guys could always become a member by watching one of our lives. And the super chats do the same thing. They call it super thanks. Every little thing helps us tremendously. And buy some seeds at my gardener and Mary's Heirloom seeds. These seeds will go out tomorrow. Expect a lot of seeds coming in the mail in the next day or so. Hopefully you guys are getting these all. Sunday Fun Day is back on. I got to make a registration video probably right now after we're done here. And Corky at White Family Farm, she's going to go live and start her own series up soon again. And got some good stuff going on.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, Tuesday's interview. I mean, that's going to be totally awesome. And there's Tuesday and Thursday. Boom. That's all I'm going to say.
Boom.
And always, as Uncle Al says, look to the sky. You never know what's above.
Oh, Uncle Al.
Okay, guys. Everybody have a good night. Thank you guys so
Good
much.
night, guys.
Have a good night.